at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
All right, I think we've got it all figured out. I'm learning the software. Welcome, everybody, for another installment of our Ask Gun Questions. One of these days, I'll figure out where to get the intro from when we were doing this before, and we'll have the actual intro to this one. But thanks for everybody's patience as we slowly get back up to speed. A bunch of people are joining us on the YouTube. Thanks for that. We'll highlight the folks that are out there, starting with Patriot. I guess I have to click on it on this window. But we also are streaming live on the Instagrams and on the X. So if you're listening on one of those, you are allowed to comment, and we'll be watching, so feel free to be part of the show. We've got Tony joining us from New Jersey. Thanks for jumping in.
Yeah.
Oh, I just realized. Thanks, Krabby Turtle, for saying happy 222. So today is 222. So we can talk about the most two. Is this the most 2A day? It's not as much as February 22nd, 2022. That was a pretty 2A day. And 200 years from then will be a really 2A day. But 222 is a caliber. Interested in it? Any interest or any opinion on it?
No, isn't it like a really flat shooting caliber, like a varmint round?
I think so. I know it's just like 223. I think it's what 223 came from. Or am I crazy?
Mm-hmm.
But
I think so too.
I think I own one for my collection, but I don't know if I've ever pulled the trigger on one. I might have seen people shoot them, like say for varmints and stuff, but I think they're from bolt action days, and they were just like, "Hey, what are we gonna do with this 5.56 ammo? I'm bored." And they're like, "Well, let's grab a 22 or whatever it is." Well, a 223 is a 22, so is it even smaller than that? I guess I don't even know. It can't be that much different because it's almost a 223. But it's a little bit different. It's enough different that when they're next to each other, you'll see a 222 and go, something's different here. But anyway, thanks for mentioning that. Crab Turtle, we'll go backwards here. Patriot was first one to join us. He's got a couple of questions in there. Oh, hold on. I got my plain old YouTube sitting where my screen is, and I'm reading off the wrong thing. So now I got Patriot up on screen. Then we got Woods over there. Both of those guys have given us a couple of questions already. I can star those questions as we go through here. I'm going to put up my own post here from earlier. We like to, YouTube, when we go live, gives us an opportunity to plug another channel, another show, I should say. Sorry, I had to cough. And almost every week when I can, as long as she's got it posted, I like to link to Brooke Cheney's project, Mental Health Matters. She had to change the name because of YouTube's horrible filters. But 2 out of 3 deaths from a firearm are suicide. And it's been like that for pretty much ever. And while that's shameful because are suicides preventable, ? Like, if they aren't, are we allowed to try? Are we allowed to find out? Like, who's done the exhaustive effort to find out it's not preventable, right? So that being said, 2 out of 3 deaths with a firearm are from suicide. And as gun owners, since we know that those numbers are used against us constantly, and we also should be aware that those 2 out of 3 deaths are gun owners almost always. So for lots of reasons, we have really the burden or the interest, the opportunity, whatever you want to say, to do something about this. I won't rage against the three-letter organizations that take millions of dollars and do nothing towards this, but Brooke does. She's just one lady in Connecticut who is a firearms instructor and an advocate, and does a show every Saturday consistently for years now, just to keep a constant attention on this. And at least for me, her consistent effort has given me the ability to talk about this better, to say things like mental health awareness, suicide prevention, fluently, right? I can talk about it if someone asks. I feel like compared to years ago before Brooke had put this effort into it, I knew the concept, but it's very difficult to enunciate any sort of theory, thoughts, or try to get my point across because I didn't have any. I didn't know any facts or points to try to get across. But I think that's important for us as gun owners, for ourselves. Again, 2 out of 3 deaths, those are gun owners. So often military, law enforcement. So in lots of ways they affect us. But also the antis who are against us and our rights and our property, to be able to truly have an ability to talk to them about something more than my rights and my property. Brooke does a great job on that. Anyway, so this is a live show, and you will get a link to that at the end of this. You'll be encouraged to jump over and watch that show. It's hours and hours after this show will end, because I don't think we'll go till she's live. But I also ask that if you have the ability and you have the interest, share her show. We all know that the internet is nothing but a bunch of mechanism. It's nothing but a giant computer program. And you have the ability to affect that computer program. Every time you buy something, every single thing you do on the internet is tracked. Every time you buy something, they know it. Every time you think about buying something, you look at 6 different things, they know it. They know what you compare. They use that information to suggest things to you in the future, so that you're more likely to buy something that they recommend. We know that they use those mechanisms, right? We're familiar with it. We don't, we might have a problem with it, but you deal with it. Well, we can affect that in things like sharing stuff that we value, sharing people that we find useful, or people who are creating projects that we find useful, are worth sharing. Your social platform doesn't matter the size. It's a point on the internet, and every time you link to something, you're helping that thing, whatever it is. And guess what? Here's a little pro tip. Every time you do that, every time you exercise that muscle on the internet, your presence on the internet becomes more valuable and more strong. And the links that you create become more valuable to the people you're linking them to. So anybody who tells you your presence on the internet is nothing is not paying attention, doesn't know the mechanism of the whole thing. So I put it on my link. We do this show and link to her project on Tuesdays. When I do that show, I link to Cape Gunworks. I don't just do that because they're friends of mine. I do it because they're putting valuable information out there. And I want to provide more reciprocal links to those projects. So you can be part of that. That could be a way that you contribute to the whole thing. Or you don't have to. You could just watch everybody else do it. Then we got Patriot out there again saying, hey, he's got a question here. Was this a question? No, not really. But it sounds like Matt is moving up to his neck of the woods. Never enough ammo. Moved up to Michigan. He doesn't like guns anymore. We all knew that.
What?
He only likes dolls now. He plays with Star Wars figures all the time. So he pretty much just plays with, he just looks at Star Wars figures all the time.
Okay.
I was making fun of 9mm, and Patriot was talking about a Robin Blue 45 ACP. So what 45 ACP would be Robin Blue? The only thing I can think of is maybe a Kimber. Like, who makes a Robin Blue?
Robin blue is definitely Kimber made of Robin blue. I'm just going with the color right now where I've seen it. Uh, Definitely not in 45. T-size makes a Robin blue. PX9. Uh, yeah, I'm figuring Kimber is the only one, unless you get one of those companies that you tell them what you want. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Let's see if Knights does. Yeah, Nighthawk.
I'm going through here and starring some of the other questions that have come up. And you see them, right? When I star them, you see them highlighted or whatever on your side also. We got Chris out there from 740.
Right. Yeah, see the Patriot and the Darts were just highlighted.
Okay. Then we got
What's
Cape
up,
Gunworks.
Chris?
Hey, look at that. Cape Gunworks is out there. What is the best AI generator software? Dude, I use a ton of them now. So it kind of depends on what you're going to do. They're like any tool. They've got their strengths and stuff. So if you really want to dig into it, let me know. But in general, your ChatGPT is a good all-around one. I don't know what it used anymore. I should probably do some dive into this when I get some time. But all the AI chats are just large language models. That's I think what they call them. So you give it something like a library, a book, or like a encyclopedia, let's say, or a library of data, and then it takes all that library of data and has a giant computer brain. And then you ask it a question, and it reads all those books and gives you the best answer it can. Except that they're not all using books. Some of them, like Grok, the one that X uses, Twitter, that one is using the Twitter database, the knowledge of Twitter. So it's not like that's all true, right? Like that's a bunch of weird shit, but it's definitely a different flavor than, I don't know, somebody else's, like Facebook's. I've never used Facebook's. So whatever ChatGPT used to learn from is a pretty decent mix. It's not quite anti-gun, but it can be, but it's not. But then there's like 5 others that I've used, and some of them are better for like coding for sure. Some of them are better for, let's just say, writing. I mean, it gets kind of tricky, and I don't know, I'm not an expert on all of them, but let's say that they all have their specialties, and some of them will be like writing. Some of them will be like, if you want to give it a YouTube video and tell it to do something with that YouTube video. Some of them are more powerful with that kind of work. So it kind of depends on what you want to do. But there's a lot of them out there. They almost all, I think, have free versions that you can kind of play with or test or use, and then a paid version. And I'm on the paid version of like 3 or 4. I don't know, probably more than that, I guess. And one of them lets me have access to a whole bunch. It's like a, I don't know what to call that, where you have a subscription to one thing, but then that gives me a taste of a whole bunch of other ones. So I've used a bunch now, and definitely getting better every day. People figure out how to work them better every day, and we talk to each other so we can learn from each other how to work these things. Plus, they get better every day. They're robots, so if they do a wrong answer, they'll never do that wrong answer again, right? Like they figure stuff out kind of different than humans. So it's pretty neat to watch them grow. Patriot saying it is a Kimber though. So if I missed anything there on that
Yes.
quick AI question, let me know.
The Kimber is called the Amethyst 2. It's available in 45.
Is it
So
for
it's a little
ladies or
more.
is it just a blue one?
It's purple.
Hmm.
Amethyst 2. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty firearm.
Cape Comer says I strike out every time I try. It's all about the prompts too. So saying something, for example, like you are an expert in, I don't know, ordering ammo, right, for customers, and I need to order uh, ammo for the store, and the store is blah blah blah. Like, coach me on this. Ask me any questions you need to before you try to answer my question, or ask me up to 5 questions before you answer. And you can, so in other words, that prompt is going to give you a lot different answer. Most people just go up to it and say, "Tell me about like 2A for E," right? And it'll say, "I'm going to go read the internet and tell you about 2A for E." But if I said, "Tell me about 2A for," as an expert in like social media, tell me about 2A for E, and it'll tell me about Tony's website. It'll tell me about his use of, why can't I think of the software you use for the reservations, the software platform.
Expedia?
No, for buying tickets.
Oh, Eventbrite. I'm sorry.
Eventbrite, yeah, like because like you're
Eventbrite.
on that pretty heavy, so like they're gonna, that if I asked it about social media and tell me about 2A free, but if I said tell me about 2A free and its impact on the state of New Jersey or something like that, like then it's going to give me different answers. So that's a big part of the robots, is to set them up so that you're trying to give them, and you can even ask them like, I want to know everything there is to know to like teach my kid about remote control cars. So if you just went up to it and said, "Tell me about remote control cars," it's just going to try to give you like a general answer about remote control cars, like not knowing anything else. But if you said, "I'm a parent and I'm trying to teach my kid about remote control cars, let me know, what I should teach them," all of a sudden you're going to get like ideas on like, well, maybe your kid wants to be a mechanic, or maybe your kid wants to develop parts with a 3D printer. Like, it's going to get into way more depth, and it'll be way more specific for what you're doing. Like, say, I'm down for anybody wants to go live and play with them. I'm no super expert, but I definitely use them a lot. Like, whenever I'm, like, I mean, more and more, I guess I'm finding more and more uses to use them, so I'm using them a lot. And then of course for images, they're awesome. Chris is saying ChatGPT has become my new best friend for making video descriptions and titles. And yeah, and again, like if you tell it, give me a description for this video, then it'll give you a description. But if you said, give me a keyword heavy description that'll compete with other channels on YouTube, it's going to start giving you a whole different set of questions or set of titles. All right, I'll quit talking about AI. So I'll keep talking about that all night afternoon if we don't. You might notice that I take this show and I chop it up now. That's all robots. I don't sit there and edit nothing. I just take this show each week whenever I'm bored. When I'm usually waiting for something else to happen, I'll take this show and shove it into one of my robots, and that's what I pay money for. But it'll chop the show up into slices and then schedule them for me. So you might see slices of Tony out there. So usually Tony, I don't know why it always picks you. I say stuff, but it always takes slices. I don't edit. I just grab them and throw them up there. I consider them like samples, right? It's like going to the Price Club or something, and the lady's got the little thing with toothpicks in it. You're not getting a full meal. You're just getting a little slice. You're just
Yeah.
getting a little taste.
So what do you use that on? I mean, what does that show up on? Is it YouTube Short or is
Yeah, they show up as YouTube
some
Shorts,
of the
but
podcast?
because I've also got other robots that take my YouTube Shorts and cram them around, I think what'll happen is every so often they show up. They'll show up as like a double on Instagram, or I mean on X, and they'll show up on Instagram and stuff. I don't even know. It gets complicated, and I don't pay that much attention. But I have robots that will watch like YouTube, let's say, and say, "Oh, if a video shows up on YouTube, I'm supposed to put it on X." And the problem is X will only let you do that 6 times a day or something. So if I have 7 videos go up, 6 of them will go over, but not the 7. Anyway, I don't know what the actual, if it's a daily or a weekly throttle, but X won't take everything. So because of that, every once in a while you'll see a couple of doubles show up on X where I have 2 robots moving stuff from YouTube or something. I play with the stuff. I'm not a master of it. So a lot of it, my stuff is like broken or aimed incorrectly. But we'll have another show on a Tuesday sometime, and I'll get into the nuts and bolts of that kind of stuff anytime somebody wants. I love to talk about that stuff and share it if I can to help people, especially making 2A content. We have enough to fight against with the society not understanding guns. Again, whose fault is that? Ours. And then we have the social platforms doing what society wants or reflecting what society wants, which is guns are scary and they're a vice and they're violent. So we're going to hate them. So because of that, we have a lot to fight with. And then we just got gun jerks out there being jerks. I'm going to blow shit up. I'm going to do dumb shit. I'm going to show crimes. And what are the platforms supposed to do? They're going to pile us all with that shit. So if you're trying to fight all that and do something that's valuable, yeah, let me know. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time. I'm not an expert. Well, I'm an expert, but I'm not saying I can cheat your way to the top, but I'll certainly help you, especially if you're doing 2A stuff. Get with us and we'll chat about that stuff. But that being said, I'm going to go back to some of the other questions that we saw that actually came in today. Woods had the first one, I think. And if I'm missing any, feel free to remind me because I'll go back here and grab them. But he says, gun question, could we use the legalization of marijuana as a template to move the Overton window to be at a minimum gun agnostic for most people? I think I know where he's saying, and I've said this a lot of times, that I don't think any pothead got together and said, we should make marijuana legal. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that. Potheads have probably been saying that for a long time, but I don't think they got together and made an organization. I've never heard of an organization that worked to make marijuana legal. What is it called? Legalization? I think that's what they call it, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I
For
know
train.
individuals that work towards it, and I know individuals that started stuff because we have, damn, what was his name? Weed Man. We had Weed Man in New Jersey that worked towards it, and then he started running for office. He made songs and everything. I think he made the song because I got high. But
Oh, okay.
yeah, he was in New Jersey and he was actually working towards it. But it's not like, I mean, people signed up, but weed is something that hasn't been villainized in a generation.
That's
Like
a good point.
our
Yeah.
parents got
The
told that,
reefer madness
but by
stuff
the
kind of
time
laughed out a long time ago in the 40s, right?
exactly by the time the '60s got here, it became what people were doing, as pushing back against the man. And then by the time our generation came, pretty much you were just lame if you acted as if somehow weed turned you into anything, or even repeated the bull crap that weed was a gateway drug. Yo, look, 80% of the heroin addicts said that they started with weed. Yeah, those people also drank milk as a child.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's like the
So
how many killers ate carrots. Like, don't eat carrots, you'll be a killer.
yeah, so that had whole shot through it. So yeah, if we can get a generation of people that don't villainize firearms and firearms owners in the Second Amendment, it'll be easy to push back against it. But that's not going to happen. Oh fuck, yeah, that's not going to happen.
I don't think it'll. Well, I don't want to jinx nothing because I don't want to say that it can't happen. I don't think it's likely to happen on its own, but I
No,
think it could happen with engineering, with enough people who have the ambition to do it right, and then like worked at it in lots of different
well,
ways.
my whole thing is that's what I'm working towards. Because when you normalize the ownership and use, it's kind of hard to pretend everybody that owns a firearm is a psycho when you know people that own a firearm who's not a psycho.
Dude, and
So
here's, I
now
mean, I
we,
don't, we're chatting each other up or whatever, but what you're doing with the diversity shoot and just for people that don't know, Tony's been running a thing for like, what's 5, 10 years now. What am I saying?
yeah,
I was trying to figure
10
out the
years,
math
yep.
on 7. I'm like, no, wait, it's just 10. I can make it real easy. Anyway, 10 years now, Tony's been doing this thing where like an orientation, a familiarization, and then an opportunity to pull triggers for like maybe twice a month for years now with a bunch of volunteers that come out and make sure that there's somebody looking over their shoulder so they're not alone with a gun or anything, but give people a chance to eat some pizza and meet people at a gun shop at a range. You do this with ranges, so ranges are getting used to having regular people show up who aren't gun people, which is, it's like having a golf course and saying, hey, I'm going to bring a bunch of people in who don't golf. Like, they might look at you funny and go, you're going to break my golf course, or they're going to be nuisance. Like, they don't need to do that. They don't have to do that. So they're that's it's so it's opening doors on both sides. But I guess what I was going to say is that's sort of the description of what you're doing. What you're also doing is you mentioned people that become gun owners or that help normalize. I think just knowing what gun owners are, like walking into a gun shop and being comfortable, even if you decide I don't care about guns, I don't like guns, I don't get it. I mean, I don't want to own a gun, but I get it. That's enough. Like that there is the same thing with, I don't know, pick anything I don't like. I could care less about people that like to cook in a microwave. You know what I mean? Like all the people that are trying ways to make recipes in a microwave. I could care less, but I don't care if they do it. Like, do it all you want. If there's some problem with that, I don't care. That's up to you in the microwave, or your doctors or something. But if there's not, then go nuts. Like, you're not hurting anybody. Anyway, I think that accomplishes a lot. I would say, you and organizations like yours, but there's not really anything else like yours out there. Um, but there are some things that, like the Girl in a Gun, is a massive operation with 1,000 ladies. Well, they have groups, right? Girl in a Gun is chapters all over the place, and it's like any kind of uh, in-person get together. Like, there's going to be monthly meetings. They're going to do maybe shoots or service projects or get-togethers. So they're going to go to their capital and fight bad bills or help good bills. So they're going to do things that together they start to learn and become a group of people. And what happens there? Their husbands and their children and their moms and dads and their everybody else in their families start to figure out what gun owners are. Well, my mom or my aunt or my whatever sister is a gun owner, and she goes to a big thing and has a lot of fun with her friends about it, right? Like, that kind of stuff is what's going to eventually, and I think that's why we have 29 states with constitutional carry now, is because of efforts like that. But I'm going to stop again for a second just to rag on the national level organizations. Could have fast forwarded this years ago. Like, I don't know why they ignored this. I don't think. Do you think that? I'm going to ask you. Do you think that the organizations think they can't, or they just haven't ever thought about doing it, or something else?
I think. Look, all right.
Normalize guns is a
I
question. Like, do you think that they
Oh
can't
yeah,
move
I,
over
I
to the?
believe I believe these people locked into their lane and just stay in it because what makes them money. Sometimes I
Yeah.
feel like they like if we diversify, if we water down our message, it loses focus, and we just stay with this. And also, this is what brings in the funds. I mean, comparatively, when I'm telling people, "Hey, I need stuff. Can you send me ammo? Can you donate money? Can you do this?" Because what we're doing is introducing people. We're doing this. We're doing that, and it seems it's not really scattered. It's all the same overall mission, but it seems to confuse some people when I talk about what we do. It's like, yes, I'm introducing people to firearms at the same time I'm introducing them to 2A advocacy organizations and to each other. Like, this is a real gun owner. This is a real person of another background that you've never seen and you've only heard on your social media that people look like this or believe this, hate you because you look like that and believe that. I'm like, no, we're breaking down all of those walls. So I think it's a lot of balls in the air when you can just go, yes, our job at fill in the blank of Second Amendment organization is to be the no compromise organization, to fight against all gun control. And you just leave it like that and everybody understands it. My elevator speech is 4 sentences long, Their elevator speech is we fight for Second Amendment rights everywhere all day. That's just my opinion, but could be wrong.
So getting to Woods's thing, can we use the legalization of marijuana as a template? I mean, I guess I'd like to see it happen more. What's the word? Like with more intent. Like see it happen with a more rapid progression. And I think if we look at it logically or whatever, at least from the perspective of when we started this whole thing, at least those of us who've been paying attention for a little while on the internet together, let's say 2000 was about the time when the internet really kind of jumped off of AOL and what would it have been back then? Mindscape or something. Like once we dropped off the idea that you had to pay somebody to be online and you could just do what you want online, that's when people started to meet each other. That was right before the social medias happened. Then all the social medias happened, and I think a lot of people who are content stayed at the social medias like Facebook and MySpace or whatever they were back then. And then the people who weren't content to just be given a place to talk found places like forums and stuff. And that's when we really started chatting together. So it really wasn't till then that we've had it even a chance to get together and chat. And I think that's probably the same pace that the marijuana thing happened because I'm assuming, I mean, I don't know everybody in the world or nothing, but just in my experience of being however many decades old I am, I've never not known I've always known somebody who smokes marijuana my entire life. I can't imagine, at least I can't remember any time when I didn't know of somebody somewhere. So
Hmm.
that's been there in society forever. And I think that's, again, when everybody gets together on the internet and they can all talk to each other without the time suck that it used to be trying to talk to each other on magazines or newspapers. I don't even know how people would have talked to each other with marijuana stuff, but gun owners, we didn't even think about talking to each other. We would look at the editor. If we cared about back and forth with the magazine, we would look at the editorials and where somebody would write to the magazine and say, I don't like 9mm. It's a stupid whack caliber and it's suck off. And then the editor would go, we have to like 9mm because the companies pay us to like it or whatever. So there would be some back and forth like that. We that fast forwarded with the internet. So I think at some point, and I'm hoping I've looked at these next generations before with optimism because they grew up with a phone in their hand. I mean, we grew up with nothing and Dick Tracy and shit, whatever, Flash Gordon or whatever the hell, like science fiction crap, right? And then we saw all this stuff happen. We saw phones that were as big as books. Like we know what a book is, right? And we seen phones as big as them. And then we seen all that shit disappear and turn into CD-ROMs. And then we seen that shit disappear and turn into digital shit. And now we're going to see that shit disappear and we won't care because we're ready for the change, right? But these kids, they don't even know. Like they live digital. They're used to stuff. So I think that it's possible for them to fast forward even more than us. Is that a way to say it? I just don't know if they will, but I think they've got the
Yeah, I
business.
think.
And I think they've been duped for
Go
so
ahead.
long that when you figure out, like when you come of age, whatever that your actual age is, when you figure out that you've had the blinders on by somebody putting their hands over your eyes, like, you know what I mean? Like at least my generation, like us, everybody I know, like we did not dig that, right? Like we came out and did what we wanted. So I'm hoping the youngins are going to be the same way. They're going to be like, oh, wait a minute. I'm letting you go.
Yeah, I'm seeing pushback. Yeah, I seeing pushback with these because what happens is the younger generation, and I'm it just feels horrible saying it, but I realize I'm older now, and I'm like, dude, when we found out we got lied on, we pushed back, and no generation is any different. It's like, no, this is bull crap. And when they try to villainize firearms in every way, including taking the emojis off of social media, throwing kids out of school for chewing Pop Tarts in the shape of a pistol. All of that is going. You villainize this thing that's not that bad at all. It's just a thing,
Is it the
and
reefer madness of effect or whatever, I
yep,
guess?
I really believe it's going to be that reefer Magnus effect if we can keep it going and growing and not let the because understand the attack is coming from every direction against the firearms in American culture. Everything from calling owning a gun toxic masculinity, trying to blame it and call it racist and all of that stuff. So, I mean, I'm not going to. I feel the work I'm doing kind of blows that lie out of the water continually. It's like there's no toxic masculinity here. This is a thing. This is a tool of empowerment. This is a tool that allows the smallest, weakest, oldest lady to stop a drug-addled, I don't know, devil Nazi from kicking in her front door, whatever that is. A unicorned Viking Nazi from kicking in her front door. She can stop that person dead in their tracks.
And it
Period.
doesn't happen.
With a
It doesn't
firearm.
happen through bravado, or like the lady doesn't have to become macho or something. She doesn't have to take on traits, the characteristics that she doesn't own. But what happens
Mhm.
is when she's free to own lethal force, then that means the criminal has to wonder who's behind every door, because it's a potentiality. They're gonna it's gonna deter crime. Where I think a lot of times when we say an armed old lady means that crime's going to end, like immediately people who are simple about this, just not thinking real deep about this, they're going to think we're saying old ladies are going to fight gunfight dudes at their front door. But
Oh,
in reality, what we're saying is when the lady has the ability to own a gun, it means that that criminal isn't going to be knocking in any fucking front doors. And the lady never even has to own a gun. She just has to have the right. And that deterrence exists. And then we see less crime. And every once in a while,
so
somebody will knock in a front door, they will end, and then the word gets around like anybody behind any of these doors could be lethal.
So we had that actually happen in Detroit, and the reason I said is because it happened in real time, as I was a member of the podcast, Self Defense Gun Stories, because we were around long enough to watch concealed carry uh, become active, I guess, or in the past concealed carry in Detroit that allowed people to carry in the city limits. And we saw the number of shootings that we were able to use as examples of self defense gun stories spike for like about a year. I mean, again, we did a weekly podcast, and every week we had one or two stories in Detroit. There were no loss of stories in Detroit or the Detroit suburbs, like for a year, maybe two. And then it drops off because the people that commit violent crime isn't large roving bands of Vikings. They're not, I don't know where I got Vikings stuck in my head today. Mongols. They aren't. Uh, there are a few people committing these crimes. I don't even know if it's like a dozen or 2 dozen. Somebody actually did a study of the people that regularly commit violent crimes, and it's not that many in a city. So when these people started getting shot in large numbers by regular human beings concealed carrying, and this is a thing from grandmoms to old men to the lady next door to the veteran in a wheelchair. All these shootings started happening because they could legally carry in Detroit, and the crime rate dropped after that. It was up
And it drops
and it was down.
permanently because it's the recidiv it's the repeat criminal who has the
Yeah.
balls to think, well, basically, who the hell is going to go, I'm going to go bully somebody, I'm going to go kill somebody? Nobody. Like, that
Hmm.
isn't a thing that most people do. So I'm guessing, just like when they in the military or in police or something, once you have to, or once you're required to, then there's all kinds of traditions and things that happen so that you can get over past that glitch that society has taught us our whole lives, right? But what happens in a gang?
Once,
Like, you have to, uh it's a whole different set of traditions, right? Like, people ain't going to dig it, they don't have to love it or whatever, but in reality, in a gang situation, in a criminal organization, when a bunch of people are criminals together and somebody starts killing somebody, that takes it across the line, right? Like, just like certain drug deals that get big, or kidnapping, like, there's certain crimes that you do that you cross the line, right? And now you're not playing around, now you're a real criminal gang. Once you're murdering people, it's not like, oh, you only murdered one person, so we're only going to it's like, fuck, I already murdered somebody, I'm going to murder 40 people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, once you're a murderer, you're a murderer. So once you figure out, like, uh-oh, they're like, if I don't want to get caught, I got to murder everybody in the house. What the hell? That's the people that are murdering people. It isn't the kid who's like, I'm going to go rob a house for the first time. Like, they're not bloodthirsty trying to kill people. Like, I bet you that's an accident if it ever does happen. But and I'm not trying to
hmm
justify nothing. I'm just saying, I think I understand what you're getting at, is that there's only certain people that are going to take it to the level of murder, or take it to the level of gun crime even. And
yep.
once you get to there, you're there. You've broken that line. You're going to do it over and over again. And what stops you? I don't want to act like prison doesn't stop folks. It doesn't always, but I don't want to act like prison's useless. I mean, you've got more experience with this than I do, but I just happened to watch a thing about Danny Trejo the other day, or maybe earlier today. I forget when I watched this, but that made me think of. I mean, we shouldn't ever be just writing off people just because they've been in jail, but the people that are, is it recidivist? I forget what the word is, but when they're repeat
Recidivism.
criminals, right? When they're going back from
Recidivism.
murder over and over, like, that's when you're a
Yeah.
murderer at that point. Like, you don't keep putting murderers out. Murderers, you probably want to just keep in there, right?
So usually what happens with these people, again, the violent criminals are violent all the time, but there's not that many of them. Some just use a firearm, even if it's a real firearm, they still use it only as an intimidation device. They have no uh, intention of actually pulling that trigger. But you don't know which person that is. They broke into your house and they have a firearm. I am not trying to figure out whether he really means this or not, because they will still pistol whip you. They will still brutalize you. So expecting or hoping for mercy from the merciless is a dumb game and it's not a good strategy. And the people of Detroit figured it out. And I still remember one of the stories. I think I did it, but I know I looked it up because I would do research on the shootings after I got the list of what we were talking about, because I wanted to know about the neighborhood. I wanted to know I wanted to know as much as possible before I started commenting on the case. And this was a grandmother of multiple children that worked nights and ended up as a nurse. She was working a double. She finally got home in the morning. So this woman had worked pretty much 2 8-hour shifts. She got home 7 o'clock in the morning and they were waiting in her driveway to carjack her. She gets out and the guy already has the gun out, and she said he looked like he was going to shoot me no matter what I did. So I drew my firearm and I shot him. She got shot and he got smoked, him and his friends. So grandma did a twofer, put two dudes down. She had a bullet in her. They took them all to the hospital. And she was out giving an interview on her front steps by that afternoon. And what happens is you took off a violent criminal who had no problem being violent. That was not his first rodeo. Well, he's no longer robbing people. And because his one got killed, the main guy got killed, his partner got wounded, his partner's getting charged with murder because someone was killed in his commission of a felony. And the most vicious one is dead. So that's two guys that robbed people for a living completely off the street. So that's other people will not have to deal with those two individuals for really one forever and the other one for a really long time. So because that grandmother was armed, your grandmother will probably go her entire life without ever even getting robbed. So that's what firearms ownership does. And
In the same
you
way
never
that
get
we're
credit
talking about it on this side, anybody who's a criminal is like going, "Oh, I should just take out that old lady." Like you don't know, they're being coached that you don't know what old ladies are carrying a gun, so come up with
for.
some other idea.
So
And
it's
there's like
like, okay,
a
well,
thousand other
that's
criminal things to do, right? Like running numbers. Nobody got
yeah,
killed running numbers. I mean, maybe they did if they weren't paying or something, but you know what I mean? Like in general, people weren't running around killing everybody for running numbers back in the old days, I don't think.
yeah. Nobody's killing you for freaking weed, stealing catalytic converters. You're not threatening somebody with a firearm. They just tell you get out of there and you run. Nobody's really gonna blow you away. They might point a gun at you and tell you to get the hell out of there because it's not our job as civilians, armed citizens, to hold somebody for the police. I think one of the best word descriptions I heard of it is look at these guys like cancer. You're going to hold cancer in your house. You're going to tell cancer to go away and give them a good description. Hell, take a picture with your cell phone, but get cancer out of your house. I'm not sitting here trying to have you think of ways you can take the gun out of my hand in my house as the cops take 20 minutes to show up. Just not.
That's an interesting thing. You get more people who would ask those kind of questions. It's been a while since I've been in like CCW classes regularly or anything to
Hmm.
hear questions like that, but that's an interesting one. And
So
I
yeah,
mean, I don't
we
disagree or
get
nothing,
asked
but I
those.
just haven't heard that or something like that even in a while.
That's and the reason I bring it up is because James has said it, and it locked in my head with that saying because I'm telling people, because when understand, I was teaching home defense handgun, or at least hosting classes about it with New Jersey law enforcement well before we had carry in Jersey. So, guys would want to know, do I keep them here in my house? And I'm like, are you prepared to hold a firearm on somebody for 20 straight minutes while stuff is going on in your home? You have to keep an eye on them and you can't let your attention drop because they might just jump up and try to take your gun. What position did you put them in? Are you paying attention? What will the dispatcher tell you over the phone, and are you going to listen to them? You know what I mean? Oh, let the person go. Who knows? And the dispatcher might be talking about their ass too, because they aren't cops. So you're bringing a whole lot of stuff in. What do they come back? Do they get charged? Do you just tell them to get the hell out of there? I have no idea. But
Just
anyway,
thinking
we
of
talked
it off the
about that
top
in
of my head
class.
like that is, yeah, like telling them get the hell out of there. What, I mean, I guess they could be like, oh, I saw his TV or something. I really want that TV. But they're probably like, oh, good, we got out of there. But if you hold
Yeah,
them and send them to jail, they're probably going to want to throw a Molotov cocktail through your front door or something.
you never know. I mean, they might want to throw a Molotov cocktail through your door because you had the audacity to point a gun at them and they weren't ready.
That's true.
You're
Yeah,
dealing with a criminal. You're dealing with a criminal and you don't know which type of criminal. It could be three dudes, two of them just pray to God you let them out of the room and they don't have to tell their mom, you know. But there's that
I guess
third
yeah.
dude.
I'm lightweight. I think of criminals as like people that are just down on their luck and like, oh, maybe I can just rob the stereo out of this empty house, and then it's like, oh shit, and they run out. Like, I'm not thinking the people that do this professionally and will just shoot your kneecaps and drop you so you can't chase them out of the house and not even care and walk out.
Oh yeah, well, I think
Probably
it's
have.
because of the environment I'm in also. That there are just some people that are inherently evil and broken inside and enjoy hurting others. And I think people forget those people because again, you're a good person and you've never really dealt with that kind of human being before.
Seriously, yeah. All right, well, let's move on because that's getting into total different subjects.
Yep.
Patriot says, "What's a nice wood stocked 22 long rifle that's not like a hot dog bun, super thick wood 1022?" I think I know what he's talking about. Some of them basic 1022s. I don't know what they're thinking, but they definitely don't. They're not spare. They're not stingy on the wood. There's a lot of wood on those. I'm gonna answer because I don't know anything modern. That I one of my favorite things continues to be as far as 22s, the old pumps. Like I don't necessarily I like gallery guns, but you said 22 long rifle, not 22 short. But there's definitely still pump 22 long rifles out there. They're just a little bit bigger guns usually, but I just like pumping a 22 and
Wait
the
a minute. What was the
old
question?
Winchesters or whatever. What's a nice Woodstock
Nice wood
22
stock
that's not a
22 that's
thick
not.
wood?
All right. Well,
I,
1022s are fine. You can find them different. But CZ, look at CZ. I have a CZ Hilux and it is beautiful wood. It is set up almost like a Mauser training gun, but there is nothing lost on it. You know what I mean? It is of such higher quality than the money you're paying for this gun. So that's one of the ones, and it's a bolt action if you want to check them out. They have a
Milsurpish.
whole line of 22s that are actually slippers. No, not at all.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's not a Milsurp gun
No, but I
at
mean, it's a
all,
like
but it's
Milsurpy. Is it like basic or is
it,
it
it
fancy?
oh it's a fancy basic. It's got a Monte Carlo stock. It's got really good wood. It's shiny, but it isn't so fancy that you'll go, oh, I can't take that out. No, you're definitely taking that out. You're gonna shoot it. Your grandkids are gonna shoot it, and your great grandkids are gonna shoot it. It's like that. And another one, I don't know if they still make them, is Model 60, Marlin Model 60s. I think those are pretty cool.
Let's see. Then we got Woods asking, where did 9 millimeter come from? Is it the same as Fanta? So Fanta was made by the Nazis, right? To have, like, that's their
Yep,
tang from World War II or something. But
it is. They
yeah,
sell a
nine
lot.
millimeter was made by the beginnings of the Nazis because they needed a little tiny wimpy caliber that could push over Europeans, and they were little and tiny, so 9 millimeter was adequate. And then they ever, they never anticipated fighting in any kind of weather or around water, so it was adequate for Europe. They were
So
fighting
the
the
funny part
knights
was,
with plate metal armor, so they just needed something to get through plate metal. That was it.
the funny part is, it was a powerful because remember in Europe they were using like 32 and 380.
Hmm. Well, they probably,
Like
but like back in the olden days when they first started making guns, somebody was like, "If I wear a thick enough shirt, I can stop these guns." And then somebody's like, "Well, I need a gun that can go through a thick enough shirt." And you know what I mean? Like then it went to like, well, if I wear a jacket and two jackets or something, it's like I need something that can get through two jackets, or I can need something that gets through leather. So I'm sure that nine
well,
came from that. Like,
but it's funny to watch the divergence, right? We got our rifles from Europe, right? Revolutionary War, War 1812. The U.S. military, firearms were either British or French developed. But when it came to handguns, we went a totally different way than Europe. In Europe, it was, well, a handgun is something that officers carry. And here it was, well, a handgun is not only something, it's regular people carry handguns. Your handgun was a backup to that single shot rifle you had. And it was a big bore, because it was black powder. And then it changed to, all right, we out west now, and it's the 18 what, 50s? That's when the Walker came about because we did have smaller bore. We had 38,
well,
but
1850 you get bullets. 1850 is when the revolvers went to the bored through cylinders, and we got bullets instead of like uh, black powder
yeah.
revolvers back
So we
before
had
that.
the Colt Walker. We had the Colt Walker, which was a 44 cal. All right, and that was separate. But then we had the Dragoon. We had the 1873, so that was 45. uh, right around the turn of the century in 1900, we came out with 38s, or right before that, came out with 38s, and the military picked them up, went to the Philippines, and found out 38s didn't stop jack shit. And that's when we diverged away from Europe and using the smaller calibers, and we just went with 45 ACP and stayed with that until the freaking late 80s, U.S. military wise and
Well, we
firearms
had
wise and
Browning, and he
whatnot.
made the 1911. And as much as people want to talk shit about it, it changed
Hmm.
everything. Like that was a
Oh, definitely.
massive, massive caliber in a gun that everybody could carry and deal with. Only two changes were to make it the commander or whatever and the officers, but otherwise, you know, pretty much just sat there. And I guess I was going to say we went back and forth on stuff because when you talk about like the Walker, that was a massive gun, but that was because they were up on horses shooting, people running around and doing stuff. So maybe shooting through forest to some extent, shooting through stuff. They wanted a giant gun, but the gun was massive and they made it to where you could use it as a club essentially. So as the gun gets smaller, the bullets got to get smaller. But like you say, then they have to kind of tune it, and they're like, "Oh, the bullets went so small that they're useless. We have to go back up again." Or I shouldn't say they're useless, but they're ineffective against whatever the bad guys. As soon as bad guys are getting shot at, they figure out pretty quick what they got to do to not die every time they get shot at, right? So it's just, I was gonna say it's like an arms war, right? Arms race, right? Where it happens on all different scales or whatever. But in effect, it's definitely, nobody can deny, it came from Germany. Germans turned into Nazis. Therefore, it came from the beginning of the Nazis. And the Nazis used it. They loved it. I don't think it would have. I think that there's a chance, like it doesn't have to be that different of a world, and 9mm never got popular. We've talked about it before when in the early 2000s with the beginning of the internet and the different, like the change in sales and the same way that we were talking about everything, that the way the world got smaller or the world got faster or both with the internet, the companies figured out real fast what they were making and what was sitting on shelves and what people liked. And, they read the comments just like everybody else. They knew how to read the stuff. So I think if things would have changed just a little bit, 380 could have potentially, if one or two 380s would have solved the thirst that was out there, we might have seen a massive race in 380s, and 9mm could have become like the 7.62. 7.62 is used all over the freaking world, but not in the United States. Why is
Yeah, I
9mm
mean,
like that?
truthfully, if you look at how it came up, because we had America was a 38, 357 country
Right? That's
up
what I'm saying.
until up until the 80s. Now imagine this. Okay, because we're talking about what changed.
Oh,
What
you know what it
changed was
was?
the U.S.
Fucking Glock.
military. No, U.S. military adopted the freaking Beretta 92.
Oh, that didn't help
If the
nothing either.
U.S.
Yeah.
military didn't switch, if the U.S. military didn't switch to 9mm, and let's just throw it out there because it happened shortly after the 9mm became uh the U. What within 10 years of the 9mm being adopted by the U.S. military, we had the 40 Smith and Wesson. Imagine if the U.S. military was looking for a firearm and they developed the 40 Smith and Wesson because we weren't big on nine. We were not big on nine up until we're gonna match the NATO standard. But what if we had 40 then? 40 was a significant step above nine in penetration. It had
Yep.
more magazine capacity than 45.
And
If
we just
we'd have
started
left that
teaching
alone
kids
and
to
they
do
came up with
push-ups in school so that they could shoot 40 when they were adults and not cry about it.
and eat vegetables. So then all of a sudden, instead of developing, I mean, jumping on the nine bandwagon, we'd like something like a higher capacity than the 45, but we don't want that nasty European 9mm. We would develop the 40 Smith and Wesson in 1985 and use it in the freaking Beretta
We
96
could have
instead of
we
Beretta
could have
92.
developed 380 plus P plus and left 9mm sitting in the middle. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. I mean, you were talking about what could change. I was like, if that would have changed, if we'd have
No,
went, yeah,
seriously. Yeah.
no, we're gonna screw Europe. We're gonna screw Europe yet again and not go with the cartridge they want since we blew them off and developed 7.62 by 51 NATO, and then we said screw you again and went 5.56 NATO. Yeah, we're doing yeah, F you again. We're doing 40 Smith and Wesson NATO, and just dragged them along. And nine would have got left alone in like the 80s.
Awesome. That'd be excellent. Because Beretta and everybody would have just made their shit in 40 and everybody would have been happy.
Yeah, I
Everybody
mean,
still had the same guns they
Beretta
got to use.
immediately made Beretta immediately made the Beretta 96, and that was picked up by LAPD and a lot of other places. Had 40 cal. Glock, of course, immediately came out with the 22, the 23, and the 27. So yeah, if the U.S. military would have went, yep, we want something. We don't want nine, but we want something that hits hard, and we want it between 40, 45, and 9 mil. Then that would have just dumped all that nine stuff, and 40 would have been it. With that push, how much development would have gone into improving the 9 millimeter cartridge? Because that's what's pushing 40 out.
Yeah, turning it into whatever 148's like saved it. It would have not ever even really survived the initial kind of popularity it had if it would have stayed anemic because the forums were ruthless to it. And then it got to that, I think it's 148 grain, something or other that everybody likes that. I shouldn't keep saying 148 because
Because I
like,
mean,
I
40,
know
40
there was
developed from the
some
10
new
millimeter.
grain. Huh?
Well, 40 got developed from the 10 mil, and the 10 mil was a requirement that the FBI thought they needed. But I'm like, if you push that forward, I mean, back in time a little bit to, yeah, the U.S. wants something between 9 and 4. That probably would have been it because it was, who knows? I mean, we're playing what if with history, but
We're only
like you
playing what
said,
if,
they,
but it's seriously like if you change the knob of when Glock, because I really do think Glock has a big part of it that because they came
yeah.
in and made a push, not immediately, but pretty quick. They came over and then started making a push, and that was '84. They started making a push to move law enforcement over from revolvers to Glocks.
Yep.
And but the thing is, like you're saying, if the dial would have just changed and that shit in Miami was it the Miami turned to made the 40s happen if because that
Yep.
went
Miami
from
shootout. Yep.
revolvers to 40s. That wasn't like 9 millimeters to 40s, that was revolvers to 40s. They were mad about the way they were reloading and shit. So if that would have happened or something like that would have happened first and we decided
Hmm.
we need to go to semi-automatic 40s, let's do it. Then Glock comes over, he would have gone 40's the caliber in the United States, let's go 40. And then he would have pushed Glocks to all the police stations, and cops would have always used 40, and they would have went from 45 to 40, and that would have been such an ideal universe because then we could all look at 9 millimeter with disdain. We'd all look up in this, look at the corner where your ceiling meets the wall, and then keep your head in that position and look down at the floor. That's how we would look at 9 millimeter.
I'm laughing because I looked. Um, I just laugh because we look at it and we go, well, 9 millimeters, obviously. I'm like, no, there was no obvious. There were things that led to where we are. There was the Miami shootout, the fact that they were already pushing for a more powerful, they were pushing for semi-automatics anyway, because PDs always want the newest and the latest, regardless of whether it's federal or local. And the 10 millimeter was there. And if they would have went, all right, the 10 millimeters is a little, it's a little much. Let's see if we can tone this down a little bit. It could have worked, especially if it would again happened earlier, because you said if it would have happened in the '70s, because they were trying to push the 41 Magnum for a while, because the 41 Magnum came in the early '60s. But PDs were cool still with carrying 357 Magnums and loading them with 38s during training and putting 357s in them, on the street, or some were using 357. But that's where we were. And the 1911 was a little much. It was a little thick. Training in the military was horrid. So everybody's idea of how to run a 1911 was shooting it one-handed like a fucking moron, uh, and trying to line up those little bumpy sights. So really, a 1911 didn't become really a fighting pistol. It became a competition pistol for, you know,
A
Colonel
race gun.
Cooper. Yeah, it was a race gun and a competition pistol for Colonel Cooper and his guys that were gunfighting in the mountains of California playing make believe. So yeah, if it would have skipped all of that and 40 could have come in the '70s, early '80s, like early, like '82, '83 when Glock showed up and was like, yeah, that's what US law enforcement wants. Because remember, right after Glock came out with the 23 to 27, 23, 27, and the 22, HK was right behind him with the USP and 40. That's what the USP was actually built around with 40. So now you had HK making their first polymer semi-automatic service gun that wasn't weird. And they approach, big money agencies and go, hey, we put 50,000 rounds through this thing. And the organizations with the money was like, please take our money. And then Beretta came out with the 96 because they had the U.S. military contract, but still, it's not like the Beretta 92 was new. That design was what I think it was called the M1951. Like the
It's
only
probably a 92 from 1892 because it's such an old design. I mean,
no, it was what you call it, because they had their mag release at the bottom. It was almost a heel release, but it had a button there, and then they moved the button up to where American mag releases are, and maybe did some more tweaks. But yeah, they could have made that. Yeah, so the 40 could have come in years earlier in a double stack, and that would have been cool. And the nine would have been left in the dust. The nine would have been like 32 ACP and other European calibers like 380. I mean, look how long it took 380 to get here in any kind of numbers and be even looked at seriously as a carryable self-defense round in guns that actually make sense and not are super small and barely able to hold on to.
and that's still I wouldn't call. I mean, is it boutiques? I don't know if that's the right word, but like it's like very few, very very few, like
Yeah, I mean,
niche.
you have the Smith and Wesson, you have the Smith and Wesson 380 EZ. You have the new Smith and Wesson Bodyguard 2.0 because the first Bodyguard really didn't do 380 carry guns any favors. Um, what else? Oh, and the Walther PPK, but that was only the James Bond gun, and that was the only reason anybody gave it. And truthfully, I mean, the reason you got in 380 is because you probably couldn't find 32 where you were, because that's not 380 wasn't James Bond's caliber. 32 was, wasn't it? And by the way, the more you talk about the PPQ is, I mean, the
Muted.
PPK is James Bond's gun, the more you realize Ian Fleming didn't know a damn thing about firearms.
Well, it did back in the olden days, I think, because again, it was like different mindset, different theory on stuff. Because that dude was OSS or whatever. Like I think he knew stuff, but knew stuff from when again people were little. I go to. I always keep saying. I'm not say keep saying that the Europeans are little, but like everybody was little back in the day. We're huge now compared to people back in the old days. When I go to Dragon Man's, he's got these mannequins with all the different uniforms from pretty much all
Hmm.
the different things from World War II, like thousands of uniforms, I think. And he always he'll talk about it on the tour that he has to modify the mannequins because people were so much smaller back then. Just everybody. Like we eat a lot of good food and stuff nowadays that we're bigger.
Well, I made a joke about it the other day, but I'm like, look at where we're at right now. I can sit here in my place in Jersey while I'm on the phone with you and order food from seven other countries and have it in my house within 30 minutes. Like, I won't have to leave my house to get this food. One generation ago, that just was not happening. Not a lot of generations. 1970 pizza was still new as a restaurant in a lot of places in America. Because again, I live in Jersey, right? But I was born and raised in Virginia. We didn't have a pizza place until I was in high school outside of Pizza Hut. And Pizza Hut was new in the 70s. So, yes, your great grandmother or grandmother, whoever relative you had that was your age in 1920, didn't have that many options unless they lived in a huge metropolitan area like Chicago, New York, San Francisco. Los Angeles wasn't even big in the 1920s, I don't think, not like it is now.
And ports. I mean, it kind of depends. Relatively big, but not compared to today.
Yeah, nothing compared to today. And then you got to talk about, well, where? Port cities? Yeah, you're right. You got a point. Port cities might have been more international, but did they have restaurants along with the laws that they had back then, too? Understand that. It's not like they were encouraging a bunch of people to open Jamaican restaurants.
Well, back
Depends on
then, I
who you
think you
ask.
had a lot of the like Chinatowns, right? Like Little Italy. You had like the different sections of towns where the people would, uh, I guess,
Hmm.
build places together or whatever. I don't know how these. I'm assuming it was sprawl, right? Like when there was nothing, these towns would grow up. So like that's the side of town that's Chinatown or something, and then eventually the town grew around it. So now Chinatown's a small piece, but at one time it was probably just like that side of town, and like that's the Italian
Well,
side
like
of
like you got to look it up, because it's like because Philly has a Chinatown, but when did that Chinatown get formed? And then when did Chinese restaurants moving into your regular town? Like again, I'll use my town as an example. I left there in the late '80s, and we didn't have a Chinese restaurant. Um, we didn't even have an ethnic restaurant. Yeah, I'm just trying to think. Nope, didn't have a Mexican spot. Uh, we had McDonald's, we had Burger King, we had one guy that started his Italian place, uh, and of course, being in southwestern Virginia, even they pronounced it Italian. So it just hey, the world has changed, man, and that's why we eat a lot because we have more options than people 1 to 2 generations did.
Oh, sure. And we eat 3 meals a day like we can afford
My
it. Like
mom
at
still
the
says
time, it's
Indian
like,
food is. Oh yeah, we eat 3 meals a day. Eating 3 meals a day means you're on a diet.
I guess I was going to say at least 3 meals a day.
Oh,
Yeah.
you only eat 3 meals a day? Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh yeah, I'm trying a new thing. I'm only going to eat 3 meals a day and limit my caloric intake to about 18 to 1900 calories. Oh, are you going to be all right? It's like some of us eat 1900 to 2000 calories a meal.
All right. So, Patriots, next question, since we're talking on that subject anyway. Why is there so much Baltic birch laminate used in Russian? Right. Wait. Why is there so much Baltic birch laminate used in Russian wood furniture? Oh, I read that wrong about 6 times before I actually read it out loud. Okay. So why do they use Baltic birch laminate? I'm guessing because they owned it, right? Like there was the resource that
Yeah,
they could just use. But
same
I
reason
think
as
it's
Turkish walnut and Turkish guns,
yeah. Well, I was
what
gonna
they
say I
had
think it's
available.
hard to stain because of the like whatever the resin they use to make it into plywood, right? It's probably like horrible chemical process because it's old, it's like from the 40s. But there's probably nothing porous to stain anymore.
Porcini, genki desu ka? I'm speaking of Brooke in Japanese, because I can do that.
Nice. Woods is saying, what's the best way to remove cosmoline boiled dissident from old Block guns? Funny you should ask. I just got 2 new steamers in the mail that look like they're about the size of like a pot of coffee, like a coffee pot, I should say. And except that it's
Hmm.
got a cord coming out of it. You put water in it. You can't fill it with water, but you put some water in it, let it sit for a few minutes, and then it turns into super hot, and then it'll blow the steam. It's like a like a teapot that you can blow the steam out with a. Oh yeah, there's like a little button on the handle. So
Yeah.
uh, Bissell makes them. I got a Bissell one also. I'm about to do a series on these, but I think that would be my thing now. Those are about $58. The one I just grabbed was like 50-ish, something like that. The Bissell one I think was 58,
So
so they're under 60.
what I did when I cleared my Mosin, my SKS, is I got a PVC pipe. It's about 6 inches diameter. Put a cap on it, filled it with boiling water, and just stuck the dang gun in there and let it freaking soak. Then pulled it out, stripped it down. Actually, I stripped it down and put it in the water, obviously. Mostly metal, the receiver and everything. Just dunked it in the water, took it out, ran it back and forth, put more hot water in it, and then cleaned it. For the stock on my Mosin and my SKS, it was hot. I left it outside. Somebody suggested you wrap it in either aluminum foil because I wasn't gonna stick the dang thing in my freaking kitchen and try to cook cosmoline out. But also, if it was covered in there, I would have dipped it in the hot water too and wiped it down. But then I cleaned it and got pretty much most of it out. But I did take the bolt because the SKS can slam fire if it's jacked up. So I took the bolt apart, pulled the firing pin out, and actually boiled that in water on the stove and kept dunking it in it until I could blow through it and see it clear. And then I dunked it in hot water again and left it boiling. So I worked my butt off to make sure that, firing pin channel was clean. But I used hot water and then just cleaned it and used CLP like a good Marine. And I had really no problem with rusting. And I got most of the cosmoline off. It just, eventually every now and again on hot days, it took a little bit. It would seep out of the stock a little. But as far as the metal, it got clean real fast with boiling hot water. Some people use brake cleaner. I just used hot water. I didn't want to
No,
lose
yeah,
anything.
hot water. I do similar. Back when I was cleaning AKs all the time, I would just put some coals on the barbecue because I'm cheap and I didn't want to pay for the stove running the whole time. So I would just put some coals on the barbecue, get them coals, and just have hot water. Like, didn't have to be boiling, it just had to be hot. And there was a couple of coals in the barbecue was enough. And I could, it wasn't like a roaring flame, in other words. And then that would keep the water warm enough. I would take just a rag, not quite disposable, but like a shop rag,
Shop rag,
so that
yeah.
durable enough to hold up to it. And what would happen is after a while, the shop rag would get like cosmoline on it. So you'd put it back into the hot water. I'm talking. Sorry, I'm sitting here. I have a fry pan, an old fry pan from just some fry pan that's like going to have cosmoline in it,
Hmm.
so it's never going to be used again. And
Right.
anyway, so the cosmoline would get into the rag. You would just dip the rag in the hot water, and this is another reason it doesn't need to be boiling because otherwise it's tough to do this with your hands. But then you just squeeze the water out of the rag, and all the cosmoline is going to go into that water. But it's going to boil or it's going to be on top like oil, right? It's going to float on top. So I would just throw that. Once it got to the point where I was having trouble keeping the cosmoline because there was so much cosmoline in the water that it was getting back on the rag or whatever, I would just dump out that hot water, just throw it onto a bush or something, and then put some more water in there, let it get hot, and I didn't put much water in there because it was going to get full of cosmoline pretty quick, and then after a while, you get less and less cosmoline coming off, and then the water lasts a little bit longer. But anyway, that would be the thing that worked the best for me because I would be outside and it was going to be stinky and gross. And I think I would wear
Hmm.
heavy gloves, like dish gloves, like you get for washing dishes, type of real thick latex gloves, just so that you know you're just going to be in hot water for a while, so your hands are going to prune up or whatever.
Yeah, I never
But
even thought about that, but yeah, definitely.
I did it a lot.
Mine was outside. The only thing that was inside was the bolts. I took the bolts out and boiled them in a pan that got tossed. I mean, it was only, just some beat up dollar store saucepan. Yeah, it was not going to get used. It wasn't going to have food in it. And that's what I use. Hardly cost anything. I mean, the PVC pipe and the cap cost more, to hold the water. But I wanted to use something that I could just dip the entire receiver in and just be done with it. Just up and down, and that came out.
There's
Nice.
also go to like a thrift shop because they're going to have maybe something that somebody doesn't want anymore. It's old or maybe it's missing the lid or something, but you might be able to get some perfectly sized big pot that somebody's, like I say, it's missing a handle or something. Also get it for
Yep.
like pennies on the dollar. Let's see. Patriots saying, question, was Russian AKM tiger striped wood real or faked? I'd never heard of it, but I mean, how would we know what the Spetsnaz was doing and stuff like that? I mean,
I don't know.
I don't
I
know.
don't even know what AKM Tiger Stripe. The only time I've seen Tiger Striping done, it was funny because it was a friend of ours, and he Tiger Stripes his Mosin by wrapping cord around it, by wrapping like jute, not jute, but a thicker rope and burning it. You
Oh,
burn the
really?
rope
That's
and it
cool.
would like burn. Yeah, 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 dude. It would look like Tiger Stripe. It looked cool as hell, man. And he did it on it, and then he just laminated it over, wiped it down, laminated over it, but it had like tiger stripes in it from burning rope that was tied around the stock. So I don't know if that's how they did it. I'm totally ignorant of it, but I thought that was the coolest look. And it was one of those things that I thought about doing to my Mosin, but I kind of like my Mosin stock. It's one of those. Well, how many of these guns do you own before you start doing crazy stuff to it? And I think maybe if I was on to my like 10th Mosin, I might did something crazy with it. But truthfully, with Mosins, I got a Russian Mosin from '92, and then I got a Finnish Mosin, and I would have wanted another Finnish Mosin like with an M39 or one of the really nice ones with the good sights and stuff like that, and I wouldn't have done it to that. Like to me in my mind, oh yeah, I'd love to do this crazy stuff, and then when it really comes down to reality, the only thing I've changed on my Gen 2 Glock 19 from the '90s is the sights. There's no undercut. There's no stipple job aftermarket. And it's like, I like to think I do crazy things to my guns, but I don't. Ah, what is it called? A
Me,
bunna?
I'm eating popcorn. So,
Oh, okay.
Patriot saying, so I have to wait till I'm like done chewing on it. Patriot saying, have you seen that Burna launcher? Thoughts? Shoots
Yeah,
pepper gas balls, kinetic rounds, and is legal in all 50 states. Is it? I
yeah.
don't know. I mean, I know that we have some weird states, but I'll let Tony go
It's
first.
BY. Yeah, it's BYRNA. I actually shot it at shot range day a couple times. It was pretty cool for what it is. And at that time, they weren't selling a rifle to civilians. That was a law enforcement only option. So I looked it up, and it seems they might sell to civilians now. They call them less lethal rifles. They have one called the TCR, and they have another one called the Mission 4. I'm thinking maybe the TCR, enough citizens were like, yo, dude, we want this too. So it's pretty much a paintball gun that is a paintball gun that launches compressed CO2, not CO2, compressed gas, capsaicin, whatever you call it. So it has
But it
all of
shoots it
the,
with CO2.
yeah, it shoots it with
Power
CO2,
comes
I
from
believe.
CO2. Yeah. So my issue is that it's
So,
CO2. I spent my whole childhood getting shot with CO2. That ain't gonna stop me. So I don't think it's gonna stop anybody.
well, what it happens is those paintballs explode and they're full of capsaicin. So it pretty much it's like hitting them with pepper spray when it explodes. Now, I look at it as it is 100% less lethal. And if you have that option, great. But if the person that you're going against has a knife, you use lethal. You don't shoot him and hope the little pepper balls stop him. But if it's the dude who's yelling at you and calling you names and threatening to beat you up or something like that, yeah, you shoot him in the face with this and he has somewhere else to be. You didn't use lethal. This is just another way to hit him with pepper spray, in my opinion. Look at it like pepper spray. That's all. It is pepper spray with more distance. Yeah, exactly, bro. It's pepper spray with more distance. And rapid fire happens if you do a rapid fire because that's what I was trying to do with the
Rapid fire
pistol.
radio on
And
Wednesdays. Go ahead.
yeah, right. I was trying to rapid fire this thing, and it happens exactly what happens when you use CO2. It cools down and it stops expanding after like 2 or 3 rounds.
Oh, it like freezes
And
itself shut.
yeah, because it's like pop, 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 pop. Okay, buddy, you got to slow down this rate of fire so it doesn't freeze up because it's shooting out that
So it can shoot more than one at a
CO2
time.
that fast.
It's not like that. It's not like a two
Oh
shot or
yeah.
something. Okay.
Oh no, it's got a mag. It's got a
Well,
mag.
my
I say
problem
if
is,
you use it correctly. Go ahead.
I guess my issue is, and I've only barely looked at these, and I don't. I'm just I don't know. But we go ahead and call me whatever you want. But if you're gonna one, you got to carry around a thing, and if you're gonna carry around a thing, might as well be a gun. And if you can't, then my issue would be that it's on paper or something. It's great, but since you now have to be accurate with your pepper spray, that's just a whole different story than pepper spray, which is kind of the whole the wives' tale about the shotguns pattern or whatever. Although I don't agree with that shotgun pattern bullshit, but uh, the idea of a spray is that you can be huddled in a ball and curled up, and your head is down in between your knees, and maybe you're getting kicked or grabbed at or whatever, but now one arm comes out and you pepper spray the room and doom on anybody who's got eyeballs in that room, because you didn't have to be you had to be kind of close to them for sure, and you're going to get pepper sprayed, but they're leaving you alone. And it's sort of the like skunk spraying everybody and everybody leaves. Sure, the skunk is still stinky, but he's alive and stinky. So I guess I'm not a like, and I'm not saying good pepper spray. I kind of think pepper spray is lame for a lot of circumstances. I am not going to say it's always lame, but I just don't like the idea of like this thing. I think it's a answered a question nobody asked for. I don't think I remember going to any class before. This burn is only like 2 years old, and I don't get paid by him, obviously. People do. That's one thing is, I mean, we're allowed to talk
Hmm.
about it in here. Like I know behind the scenes, like people get paid handsomely for some things, and then they get paid well for some things, and then they kind of get paid every once in a while for some things. And think about it. What do you see a lot? Is that the stuff that people barely get paid for? Or is that the stuff that you get a pretty regular paycheck for? I'll leave it on the table. Like, you figure it out. We're capitalists here. I don't get paid for them. Luckily, I'm in a position where I don't have to. Thank you, Patreons. I should probably put a thing at the bottom of the screen saying thank you to Patreons. I don't have to worry about that. So, it, whatever year it came out, the year before that, and I was there, right? I was there that year. I don't remember anyone going, I wish we had a way to wing pepper balls at somebody. I've never heard that. And that's my thing. Like, you ever tried shooting a pepper ball at somebody? Like, it's, or not a pepper ball, a paintball. Like, paintball guns are inaccurate as shit, and you're gonna make it smaller and it's more accurate somehow. Like a paintball isn't accurate, and now
It's
you're
not
winging
smaller.
it. It's, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's the size of a paintball. It's not smaller. My whole thing is this was crowd control thing the cops were using. Got you.
Oh no, no,
You
I
can
mean the gun
double
is
max
smaller.
that into a
Paintball
crowd.
guns are like little carbines, and they're not all
Yeah,
that
yeah,
accurate.
no, no. Yeah, the gun is
This is like
smaller
a
itself.
Derringer. Yeah,
Actually, it's the size of a freaking Glock 19. My issue with it is, again, use it as pepper spray. That's it. Use it the same way you use a non-lethal. See, I live in Jersey where they make the pepper spray so small to almost be useless. It's like it's not even an entire. I don't even think it's a whole ounce. The pepper spray has to be the really small, annoying, like keychain pepper spray, the smallest one. That's the only one we can legally have in the state. So for us, yes, I mean, if you want to have a non-lethal in your car, I don't know why you carry this thing. In my opinion, it's just, I mean, if you can carry a firearm, you carry a firearm. Carry pepper spray, you carry pepper spray. This takes up a lot of room. It's a non-lethal. We were actually talking to the guy,
less
and I'm
lethal. Less
looking at him. Less lethal, excuse me.
still
Less
pop
lethal.
somebody in the eye and they fall off a railing. Right? There's always that kind of
Yeah,
craziness.
yeah,
Yeah.
they can stumble in front of a train. But I'm sitting here looking at it, and I'm like, in what way would I suggest anyone use this? It's a lot of expense. I mean, it costs as much as a firearm.
That's the other thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the size of a decent carry pistol. It's the size of an almost duty pistol. It's still non-lethal. And like most non-lethals, pepper spray and everything, there's no 100% guarantee it'll work. And then it's the people who are deploying it incorrectly. Again, if they pull out a knife, they've gone lethal. When police departments use non-lethal like pepper spray, bean bags, and these things, they have their partner cover them with lethal in case it goes sideways. What are you going to do? Dual wield?
Cops are trying to be
You're going to
nice. They're
shoot them?
like trying not to get sued. They're not like doing it because it's the best option.
Yes, and I have gotten hit with paintballs, multiple paintballs, because unlike this thing, these jerk offs lit me up with a paintball gun as a referee at a paintball tournament. So yes, I didn't get hit with one. I got hit with about seven. And yes, it would stop me if I was road raging. It would stop me if I was screaming for the 75th time about their dog pooping in my yard and I was pounding on the door like an idiot. Like it will de-escalate people that aren't thinking about committing violent crime on you with a tool. It may shut somebody. It will do the same thing that a paint as pepper spray was, but at a further distance, and then you don't have to worry about it blowing back in your face until the balls break, and then that's going to be in the air and it's going to blow around like anything else that's an aerosol.
Oh, Patriot has a good question. He says, does it look like a pistol? Wouldn't that be an issue as well? Somebody thinks you have a gun when you don't. Sorry, we didn't even. It looks like a double barrel Derringer. It looks like it's a big ass. It's a paintball gun. It's the size of a, like Tony said, it's like the size of a Glock, but it's orange, isn't it? It's
Hmm.
like bright ass orange.
Yeah,
It looks like a
this
flare
one is
gun. That's what it looks
orange.
like. Looks kind of like a
Yeah,
modern version of a flare gun that you'd have like in a boat.
yeah. If you think this looks like a pistol to you, the only place you've seen a pistol is a cartoon.
It's
They have them in
definitely
flat,
orange.
dark earth, and black also. Yeah,
Oh,
they
they
have them
do.
in flat, dark earth, and black. Yeah, yeah. I would get orange. I would get the one that doesn't look like a pistol and hope to God somebody doesn't blow me away if a cop sees it. I don't want to die. Yeah, the top is the barrel. I don't know what the bottom is. I don't remember so much from it because
Probably CO
is
two.
that when you put the CO2? Yeah, you put the CO2 in the what looks like a barrel under the bottom where your guide spring will go uh,
I don't want to say it's
in a
cheap
regular
because a lot
handgun.
of people own them and they're paying as much as
No.
a pistol and no one's complained. So at least I don't hear
Yeah.
anybody complaining. So I think that they do the job they're supposed to do. I guess my thing, like Brooke said earlier here, where'd it go? That her students have it in their homes or car as they don't carry. But I don't know if you mean they will never carry a gun or they don't carry this thing around. But I guess what I think of pepper spray, I think of it as for like um, people out of control. Because, like, you get like a drunk person or a person that's crazy on
Hmm.
drugs, and you're not going to reason with them anymore, and you're not going to kill them, right? Like, like they're not trying to kill
Hmm.
you, but they're being weird. And it's like, I'll go to jail for pepper spraying this guy, but I don't want him to I don't want it to escalate. So I'm going to pepper spray this person. Like, I could see that being
So,
a fair use for pepper spray, but I'm really thinking of it for like, I live on the edge of Tucson, so we got critters like a bobcat
hmm.
once in a while, but coyotes all the time, like stray dogs, that kind of thing. And I can see where someone who doesn't feel like having I'll fist fight a javelina or a bobcat or a stray dog, maybe even some coyotes. But most people ain't gonna. I can see that. So they're gonna. I can see pepper spray in those instances. Although I was asking Woods, like, there's some electronic deterrents for dogs. I just don't like the idea of spraying dogs because I'm a dog person. But I'll shut up. I think that's where the Berna isn't going to be as effective. You're not going to shoot a dog running all around with a pellet and be effective. It's going to hit the ground somewhere, and the dog is just not going to go over there.
well, that's
Maybe
where I
if you
look at
shot
the
yourself,
cylinder.
maybe if you just took a bunch of the balls and smashed them on your clothes, the critter would leave you alone. But I don't know if they teach you to do that.
Well, the whole thing is you got to learn. Excuse me. Again, my time was spent with the guys who were trying to sell you snake oil at SHOT Show. You know what I mean? Like I was in their port, so I'm going from thing to thing, and I saw this. Now we'd only talked about it once, and that's the crazy thing. At least when I'm at SHOT, I'm not going over every booth and what's in every booth, so I don't have a whole bunch of loaded questions. Like, in all right, how did we deploy this? And like in your instance, um, you can hit a running dog with a paintball gun. I mean, that's what you're doing with this. I like the shoulder fired ones better. And what turned me off was at that time, they weren't selling that to civilians. And I'm like, why not? It's non lethal. What difference does it make who the hell you sell it to? It's a freaking paintball gun. And I got a little aggressive with the questioning because it was so stupid to me. It's like, why would you sell the pistol but not the long gun? Same technology. What difference would it make? But yes, if you had one of these and it launched balls, I think it launches what 50 a can with the long gun. I was looking it up. Yeah, you can punch a running dog with it. Remember, shooting a dog in the ass is going to make them run anyway. So,
Well,
and
shooting them in the butt at
again,
a distance, I'm talking about a dog who's messing with you and is like in front of you. Like, people think they can shoot a dog. We did a great drill. I don't know who taught us to us. You take a 2 liter bottle and some tent stakes or
hmm
something on the ground, and you take a big ass
hmm
long piece of 550, and you might want to put some water into the 2 liter bottle, And depending on where you are, we're out in the desert, so we could shoot at it. But if you can't shoot at it, just try shooting at it with like a paintball gun or something. But because
Hmm.
that would work for that thing you're talking about, or a BB gun, I guess would be good too. Like a BB gun with CO2, like a repeater, so you can actually shoot it like a gun. Anyway, it's impossible. Like, well, it's going to bounce all around because of the rocks and dirt and shit on the ground, and that's what a real dog's like. People that think you can shoot dogs because
Yeah,
they watch movies, they think cars blow up when you hit them too hard. Like,
yeah,
it's impossible. That's why dogs are so effective. Like dogs, one, their skull is going to repel a bullet. I mean, people don't go around shooting dogs, so they don't know. But you don't shoot a dog in the head. Like you have to shoot a dog in its guts to make it, not in its guts, technically its heart or its lungs, just like a deer.
hmm,
But you don't shoot deers in the head either. Why? Because our skulls are thick. Their skulls are big wedges designed to keep a little tiny brain safe from being bit by bears. So you don't shoot critters in the head. And movies always just turn away when a dog gets shot because it's really fucking hard to shoot a dog. Like, talk to people who kill coyotes. Like, unless you're shooting at them at a distance and you're just cheating by shooting at them in thermals at a distance, like, nobody shoots coyotes when they're being attacked by coyotes. Like, that's all I'm getting at is like, people haven't been in dog fights. Just go hang out with a bunch of puppies and try to
yeah.
tap one of them on the forehead. Good luck with your hand. You know what I mean? Like, you're not
Yeah.
going to shoot a dog. But I mean,
Hmm.
I'll shut up.
So again, like I was saying, though, with something like this, you got to have a tactic to do it. I mean, just being able to do it, but if you strafe a bunch of these rounds between you and the dog, it's not going to run through a bunch of pepper spray. But you have to know to do that. And my problem with it, and again, I'll put it out there like the only intro I had was the shot show. The booth was not busy, so it was just me, him, and the guys from my show, and him telling me how great this thing was. Like shoot the moving because they had a mannequin with a T-shirt on a little remote control thing, and they were driving it around. It's like, oh, shoot it when it comes at you.
Oh,
I'm
that's
like,
pretty cool.
yeah, yeah. I mean, again, that was cool. I was able to do it, but I'm sitting there thinking, is this dude coming at me with a knife? Because now I'm switching over to lethal because he's lethal. And then I never got a chance to think, yeah, what if it's an animal? Because everything doesn't require firearm. One of the self-defense gun stories that I actually doing was a guy lived in a neighborhood, went to the gym, family was downstairs cooking breakfast. He's in the bathroom and he hears somebody bashing in the door in the backyard and doing crazy things. And he grabs his gun, pulls his pants up, runs out, and it ends up there's a group home in his neighborhood. And one of the kids had a total mental break at the group home and was going around trying to kick people's doors in the neighborhood. The police had already been called, but they weren't going to get there in time for this kid who's breaking stuff and being violent to not kick his front door in and come into his house. And he ended up shooting the kid and killing him. I'm like, if you're upstairs and there's a kid kicking your door, yes, I can understand leaning out the door with one of these things and shooting him in the face 5 or 6 times. That might shut him down. And you didn't have to use lethal force. But once this person who was having a psychological break gets into your house, that changes things. There's nothing between you and him now at this point. And that pepper spray paintball, even if it breaks his skin and irritates his eyes, what are you playing? Hide and go seek with an enraged person who you've just shot in the face 6 times and who just kicked your door in? So it has a mission, it has a purpose, but I you got to be trained on it. You got to actually think about it. You can't just put it away and go, this is the same as pepper spray. It's situational when you use this thing. So I think it's a good tool in a niche. Are you going to practice with it? Are you going to think about those crazy situations where you'll need it? And is it even going to be around when you need it? Does the CO2 slowly leak out?
That's the other thing is I don't trust nothing CO2. I've just had too many CO2 BB guns. Like you say, you put it away
Hmm.
a week later, good luck. Like you just lost all that CO2. No
Yeah, it
O-rings
has
that
one good pop. Yeah, and the O-rings have to stay lubricated, by the way. I mean, if they dry out, it's done. So that's my question. How long do you keep it loaded? How fast can you load it? Because this one, it takes the CO2 through the front. Now, if I remember correctly, and it's set up like, because I had a training gun I had when Umarex used to make HK airsoft. I had a USP. because the department I work with had USPs, and these dingleberries always wanted me to help train them right before range day. So it has the same trigger pull and all the markings of a HK USP, the initial trigger pull, obviously, and it's not going to have recoil. But I had one, and what you do is you put the CO2 cartridge in the magazine itself. Now, this looks like it goes to the front of the gun. How long does it take to load that sucker? If you discover that when you go to pull the trigger on the person outside the door because you hung out the window to shoot them, and it goes and nothing happens, how long does it take you to reload that thing? How many of these do you keep around? I mean, it's a whole what do you call that? When you have to, it's a whole system. You
Manual
have
of
to know
arms.
how to operate the system. Yeah, it's a manual of arms. It's equipment. It's the magazines. You have more than one because it only holds seven. It only holds 7 rounds per mag. Do you have a couple mags? Where do you keep those? Because when it comes to fighting with a gun, you're only going to fight with what's in it or what's on it. And again, that's why I like the idea of using the long arm. And they were just talking about police use of it. I'm like, all right, you come outside and the kids are freaking toilet papering your lawn. Hey, get out of here, kids. Oh, but they're more than that. They're not little kids. They're freaking drunken college assholes. So you shoot them with the freaking paintball gun with the pepper spray in it. Because you got like, 3 drunken 21-year-old men outside. You're not going to fight them. But you shoot a couple of them and you call the police and go, hey, I got some drunk assholes that smell like pepper spray running down the street. They got welts in their ass. Cool. I didn't use a firearm and I didn't have to bust my knuckles up by fighting at my age because I don't do that anymore. I don't know. Non-lethal has a purpose, but you actually have to have that already in your head how you're gonna deploy it.
I would say that, and I'm not playing devil's advocate because I've just been to a lot of CCW classes and I've seen different points of view on this. Because
Hmm.
I think that there's an angle that, like, I'm not discounting the scenarios you just said, but just to use those scenarios, because I think there's that's what they call it, levels of
De-escalation.
no, um,
Oh,
meeting levels of force or whatever, like
yeah,
equal
yeah, yeah.
levels of force or whatever. I can't think of the name for the you can rise to the level of force the other person brings, but you can't escalate force, I guess. So if you have a situation where, like you're saying, somebody's beating on the wrong door in the middle of the night, and you're like, "Go away," and they're not, got the hiccups. They're not able to understand you because they're drunk or something, and that's realistic, right? Like somebody's
Hmm.
beating on the wrong door in an
Yep.
apartment. You lean out, you can see that they're wrong, and you're like, "Get out of here!" And again, it's going to take the police forever. Now they're kicking on the door, pop, pop, pop. The force continuum. Thank you. I think that's what I was looking for.
Yep.
Um, so the thing is,
Thank you.
does that then escalate it? Do they go? Because the thing is, it could be orange and it can do whatever. But if you're drunk and you're in this crazy stressful situation where you decided to bring this thing out, um, and brandishing is a whole nother thing. But you brought it out and you used it. What are they seeing?
Hmm.
They're seeing pop, 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 or they're hearing pop, 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 or pop, pop, and they're feeling something. And unless you've been shot before, you don't know about the warm feeling and you know what I mean? Like you don't know what it's like to get shot. And so if you get shot with a paintball gun, you think you're getting shot probably. And that's where I'm
Hmm.
worried is like the person who decides, I don't want to bring the force continuum up. So I'm going to use this, there's no way to know. But in that stressful scenario, did you just now create a situation where they're going to escalate it and then you didn't want to go that high
So,
because the next
well, my
escalation
whole
is
thing
bad.
is this. Well, okay, I understand where you're coming from, but you're drunk, you're out of your head, and you think someone shot you, and you continue to attack them. Then you catch lethal force. You made that choice on your own.
Yeah,
I
yeah, but then
understand what you're
you
talking about,
you
but
got to transition then, and most people I'm thinking are not like boom boom, and now they're at the they
well,
transition into a pistol. They're like,
you
oh shit, I thought that was going to work, and now they're looking for their pistol.
no, again, and that's one of the parts about this that I was talking about. And again, I didn't have a full class. I don't even know if they teach the class or give a rundown of it, or do you just buy this product and have to figure it out on your own? That's also one of the misgivings I had about this product. is when you learn to use pepper spray, you should really take a class on pepper spray. People just get the thing in the mail and go, "Well, I know how to use it because it's simple." And I'm like, "No, you actually okay. You can't spray it into the wind. It can get on you. One of the best things to do is get a couple of them and spray yourself and go, yeah, I might have to get through this because I sprayed it into the wind, and now we both have this shit in our face." There's more to this than just owning it and shooting somebody, in my opinion. That was my issue with it as a whole. And I understand he's trying to sell it, but they're at SHOT Show to sell these things to companies so they can sell them. They're looking for distributors and things. And I'm like, you're not giving enough information because it's more than just a thing. So I think it fits in a niche, but you should understand it. And these questions that G Web's is asking in the scenarios I'm talking about need to be thought about if you bring this piece of equipment in. It's
I don't
still
know
a
what it's
piece of
called, but if you look at this as like a big triangle, we're all looking at the like point of the triangle where something actually happens, and in reality,
Mhm.
99.999% of stuff gets bought and either set on a shelf or put on a belt or put in a pocket or put in a purse or put in a glove compartment, whatever, and
Mhm.
just sits there and gets dust until it's old and no, and then, oh, I remember I bought that, right? And that would be ideal. I mean, everybody wants these things to never have to use them. So I
Yeah.
just think because that's the way it is, we're never, I don't even stress on this. I get stressed that the national level organizations aren't ending the misunderstandings and misconceptions on guns out there, because that would end our real
Mhm.
issues. But this, like the idea of like if you should buy something and what gear, like I mean, think about all the gear that you've bought, and then 2 years later, you're like, why did I buy that crap? And you're never going to even pull it out of the drawer because you're embarrassed, and plus, you're never going to use it. I can't even tell you half the stuff. I get rid of some of that stuff, but most of the time, you buy stuff that the kind of stuff I'm thinking about. It's cheap anyway, so it's not even like it has any resale. So you think, well, maybe I'll keep it in case my good stuff breaks. But like binoculars, I'm sure people have bought like, oh, I'm going to buy these $13 binoculars that I found because they look just like the real binoculars, and you're fine until you look through real binoculars. Then they're like, oh, dang, I should probably buy some $50, $150 binoculars. And then one day, maybe you actually buy some $500 binoculars, right? It's that kind of thing. So we're living in a world where people like to buy stuff, and most of the time, ideally, and most of the time in reality, we're not
Gotcha.
using this stuff. So that's all I'm
Well,
getting at. Is I'm not
mm,
ragging on Berna.
again,
Like I think I'm not sold on them, but
no.
I'm nuts buying them if you want. I don't
Again,
care.
I've never, again, you know what I do. I'm seeing people all the time. I haven't recommended this because I feel it's niche. It's pretty big to carry around if you also carry a firearm. It's pretty big to carry around even if you don't carry a firearm and this is your non-lethal choice. I'd understand if someone in my state would carry something like this because they make the pepper spray we are able to legally carry almost anemic. Um, and if you want to stay on the right side of the law, I guess you'll do that. Uh, Personally, if I'm going to carry a pepper spray, buy one from I'm going to go buy one in another state that allows me to have a large pepper spray. I also agree with CNT to make this look like a real gun. I think is a mistake. Uh, it's not something I would do. I mean, they have three different colors, and I would definitely pick the orange one that does not look like the color of a real firearm. I don't want to. I want to touch one that looks like a real firearm. So I think it's a niche thing.
I
I
would
think
never
people
get
really
one
need to
in
think about.
black. I don't. I can't see it. I could see
No,
it in orange. I could see it in orange.
yes. And I'm looking at the one they have for law enforcement. And again, it's in orange because you want that to not be confused with a real M4. And again, if you have one that's a long arm, where the hell do you keep that? What non-lethal thing you think you're going to have that you're going to go, I'm going to go grab my rifle? Other than, again,
Yeah, pest
like we
control,
had
right? Like
guys,
somebody is going and getting bees out or
yeah,
some shit. Like, oh, there's a bobcat
well, we
stuck
have
in
freaking,
the attic. Like, I'm gonna pepper spray the shit out of it, and then it'll run out of here.
oh, you got the freaking tomcat down there that's outside going, "Meow." Yeah, well, I'm not going to shoot the tomcat, but I can guarantee I can shoot around it with enough of this pepper spray, stinky stuff that it runs away and goes, yeah, I'm not going to that backyard again. Cool. I didn't shoot the cat and I stunk up the backyard, but it's outside. I don't care. Or when a skunk is out there, same, because I don't want to kill an animal and I definitely don't want to wound an animal. but I can freaking have capsaicin enough around that animal that it hauls ass and never comes back to my yard again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
cool.
Brooke saying I want to see a GoPro. I don't know if attaching a GoPro to me would help because I'm not going to fight it with like Taekwondo where it's going to be kicking at it. But seriously, like I mean, I've just grown up with critters, but I'm not as scared of critters. Like they're gonna do stuff to fight you, but we're humans. We're like monkeys, right? Once we get behind them, they can't do shit. So pretty much, what is it? A full Nelson when you go around somebody's arms and your hands go behind their neck. You just do that to pretty much any critter that you
Hmm.
can do that to, and they can't do shit about it. So they're going to be strong, and they're kind of strong, not compared to us, a bobcat. I mean, yeah, they're kind of strong. I'd punch a bobcat, but they're going to have their teeth and their claws. And I'm not saying you aren't going to get cut up a little bit, but if it's like you or that bobcat, like you're taking out that bobcat, I guarantee you. And I think it's a matter of just wrestling it. So that's where I will give wrestling a thing. Like it's worth knowing how to wrestle because if you're going to wrestle critters, you're not going to karate chop and kick critters too much. Like, you know what I mean? You got to get hands on. And anyway, I think most critters, once you get them down and, you know, grab them like that, they're going to figure out that you won. You know what I mean? Like they're not stupid. They're going to run away as soon as you let go of them, unless they're rabid. But, I would fight a bobcat if I had to, or if there's enough money involved. Now, I've seen most bobcats are like the size of house cats out here. So I have seen a pretty big bobcat. If you're talking about a lion, I'd want to have something on my neck is all, like some kind of a leather neck, perhaps. I don't know if that's you guys didn't get it from that. You guys got it from swords, but you know what I'm saying, like some kind of
Yep.
a leather thing around my neck, because that's where a cat would get me. But I'll still fight a cat. I'm not scared to fight a cat. It would be tougher to fight a lion, like a mountain lion. I don't mean not a real lion. That'd be tough. But anyway, they all got
Yeah,
eyes and they all got throats. I'll fight them. I'm not worried.
you're taking an L on that lion thing, at least an African lion.
I know that's a tough one. I'd still if I had to, I would try. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be 8-8. I ain't standing there feeling like what it's like to get ate by a lion. At least going down, poking at least its eyes out or something. Be like, oh, that blind lion that tried to eat that one guy that time. But anyway,
Leo the blind lion. Yeah, he learned his lesson.
but uh, but seriously, I'm not scared of dogs or none of that. Like, I wouldn't want to have to do it, but you shouldn't be scared of them. They're just critters.
Yeah, no, I don't. Hey, listen, we have weird stuff around here. I saw a fox one day. I'm like, what the heck?
I seen a
But
thing just today or something that said that the fox is one of the things that's everywhere in the world, from the Arctic to
mhm,
the everywhere. Yeah.
yeah, mm,
I would domesticate
yeah,
a fox. If I seen a fox out there, I would give it like
mhm.
candies or something until it became a friend of mine, and then I would have a little fox dog hanging out with me.
See, that's the difference. I wouldn't even try to domesticate my nephews. I saw him outside, I'd throw rocks at him and tell him to go away before he gets pepper spray.
But not the pepper ball.
Nah, yeah, no, he gets shot with the pepper ball. He definitely gets shot with the pepper ball.
Now that
Follow
would be
him
an
from an airsoft.
interesting. What if you did a pepper ball game, or I mean a paintball game with pepper balls,
With pepper
as
balls?
to make it some consequences if you get hit?
Oh, dude, I like that only because, again, as an umpire in these things, those bastards shot me and I didn't have anything. It'd be great to turn around with pepper ball. Slap, 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 slap.
Penalty.
You know? Hmm. It's like, oh, you didn't know I had one of these, did you? Oh, we're sorry. How are you sorry? They introduced me before the game started as the big black dude in the cowboy hat and the red shirt. There's no one else that looks like this. You forget me?
I don't think I've heard these stories.
Yeah, yeah. I was the one time I umpired a freaking large paintball game.
Oh, here I
In
can
one of
start
those
these. I was like, oh,
places.
I wish I could highlight these. Okay, so I'm going to go
Yeah.
back to the one that's on the screen. Brooke is saying that talking to
Mhm.
CNT out there, CNT Designs and Arms, saying that we got to get ready for the Connecticut legislative session testimony. Then later on, she's got a reply as they kind of go back and forth that something the effect of that it happens within 24 hours. Here it is. Just not sure when the stuff is coming. 24-hour notice is what we get if we're lucky. And that's another thing I'm going to
Yep.
take on. Thanks for you guys are just kind of talking to each other, but I'm going to take the opportunity to rag on our national level organizations. If anybody's content with $30 to the national level organizations, and then you go, oh, I don't like the NRA, then what the fuck? Why are we dealing with anything in Massachusetts, anything in Connecticut, anything in New Jersey? How fucking easy do we need it? We had California, New York, Illinois, New Jersey, Connecticut, maybe Rhode Island, I guess, and Massachusetts. And now we have to deal with fucking Washington, Oregon, and Nevada. Pretty soon, well, New Mexico probably you could already put on the list, and pretty soon Arizona, because we're turning whatever color it is to be anti-gun. So, like, we're
Hmm.
pretty much going to have a bunch of people from California who've turned a bunch of these states into anti-gun, and that all happened after the states back east y'all have been getting wailed on for a long time. So I think that we lost
Hmm.
an opportunity in 13 and 14 when we had a lot of people. That's when we started Every Second Matters, because we knew that the momentum was going to die. There was just unprecedented momentum in 13, like to resist Obama's executive actions. And
Hmm.
the fact that we're dealing with, because the thing is, it hasn't changed. The legislatures, it sounds like in Connecticut, are like the one I'm learning about, the ones in Massachusetts that I found out
Colorado.
about from
Oh.
Cape Gunworks, and I don't know what it's like in New Jersey. Well, I knew that Texas is like every other year. Like their legislator only meets every other year. So we were trying to get Texas carry, constitutional carry, or I mean, first actual carry. Texas had pretty shitty carry for most of its time because of old West towns and shit. But anyway, Texas needed carry, and for a long time I was watching that fight, and it took forever, years, because every other year they meet. But then I talked to Toby from Massachusetts, and their fucking legislator meets every 72 hours. What the hell is, like, who would have ever said that's a good idea? Like, what kind of urgency is there that the government needs to meet every 72 hours? Like, I didn't even think that was for real. But that's why they have such horrible laws, is because they're ganged up on. Like, there's no way for the regular people to keep up with somebody who's getting paid to meet every 3 days. That's ridiculous. So I don't know what it's like in some of those other states, but if it's anything like that, then no wonder you're having trouble with trying to keep up with it. It's like it's a professional. It's more than a professional full time job just to watch what the politicians are doing. Like, at least you get a break at the federal level. You know, they all go home for a while. And like our state people, same way. Like, they seem to only really be doing stuff for, like when they're in session for a few weeks, and then you have to watch what they're doing and do testimonies and stuff. But then you get the rest of the year to enjoy your life. But in Massachusetts, at any time they could just say, tomorrow we're banning all guns, and everybody has to like rally and figure out what the hell to do. And it sounds like that's what I've seen it happen in Connecticut. And I think the Connecticut Citizens Defense League does a pretty decent job of coming up with outside the box ways of dealing with it, like facilitating people's video testimony, like having a place that people can come together and hang out while they're waiting for their video testimony. I think that's an amazing thing, and that should have been championed by all the national level organizations for its cleverness and its usefulness, so that they can never use that against us ever in any state. But instead, like, they're doing that essentially in secret because nobody's willing to throw light at stuff that's massively useful. All right, I'm ranting, but what's it like in Jersey? How often are your people getting together to be the what do you call it? Like, how often is your legislature convene or whatever?
Oh, they convene all the freaking time. They take their breaks like pieces of crap here on the national level. But yeah, these douche canoes, they're at it all year long, shitting on your rights. They just tried to. They actually, we had some people there Thursday fighting against their infringements. I actually reposted it, I think, on X. What they were doing this time, more raising the fees, more making things illegal that are already illegal on a national level. It's just stupid. It's like they're giving themselves busy work just to infringe on things that are already infringements. Oh, you can't build machine guns here. Well, we can't build guns here. So what difference does it make about building a gun with a switch? It's already against the federal law. So that's what they were doing last week. I didn't even bother going. I just put it out there for people that wanted to go, so they had the information. I have 24 dates that I'm hosting diversity shoots, plus I'm traveling doing other things. That's my part right now. I'm not taking days off in the middle of the week to go down and testify because they do not care. But I think people should go testify. I think we should be seen down there. But again, I'm taking almost a month off every year to host diversity shoots. Uh, on 2 days' notice, taking a day off to go down and testify is not, I feel, a good use of my time. But I think if you want to get involved, I really and truly believe you should go down and do that thing. That should be part of your advocacy if you can. Take a day or two off a year to actually go and be heard, to write letters, to do that part of actual advocacy. And I know I sometimes feel like I'm being a hypocrite, but I'm doing something else. But I'm encouraging others to go down there and actually see the process and see how the sausage gets made. I think it's necessary, and I really think it's probably one of the most American things you can do to go down and see how your country actually gets bills paid and does some of the work that you have to live with.
And that's part of the messaging that could be, well, that would be effective, but could be part of the branding of all these national level organizations. The closest you get to it is if you use our form to tell a
Yeah,
legislature, tell the ATF question and answer thing. But yeah, your voice matters, and you gotta get comfortable and used to it. And it's the same as voting, or what are the other things that we do? You know, it's one of our things that one of the things that we can exercise as a citizen to interact or manipulate our government. I don't know if that's the right word. Um, what Brooke is saying, Connecticut has a short session and a long session every other year. This session is supposed to be focused on budgeting, but they're off the rails.
hmm
Of course, we've got the weirdness going on with like everybody hates Trump, and
yep,
Trump wants to be a good jerk or whatever to the people that hate him, or I don't know, whatever. That's how they feel. And then people that
yeah,
love Trump say, "Oh, Trump's just trying to." But I've listened to NPR too much, so you definitely hear like this perspective that like, oh, all we wanted to do is mind our business, but Trump, is over here trying to intentionally smash
yeah,
us or something. And then you listen to Trump people, and they're like, he's finally cutting money here and he's cutting money here. So it's again like no one wants to clear anything up, and none of the news wants to say like, well, actually, But when we
yeah.
look at it from this angle, like that does those words are never said. But
No,
anyway, because of all that, we've got states who are now trying to just go either against the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, against the loser Bruin, or against why can't I think of the one before that? The Heller from back in the day. And who was I listening to talk about this? Oh, I think it was Toby actually the other day, and I think I was on his one show. And he didn't really have a chance to respond or whatever. But um, there's that Safer Communities Act, the Bipartisan Safer Community Act of like I think 2022 maybe, where they were trying to go after guns because of I forget what caused it. And was it the one in Texas? I think it was the kids in Texas, or the murderer in Texas who killed the kids. So they said,
Uvalde.
"Oh, yeah, we got to do something." I don't even like saying that part, so I try to just allude to the things. But yeah, exactly. And so the Republicans were like, "Oh, we got to do something. So why don't we let the Democrats do whatever they want?" And this, I don't know if you would call it like an ice pick jab or a scalpel slash, but either way, it was a subtle cut that a lot of people didn't understand how deep the cut is, but there's multiple layers, of course, because it did a lot of stupid shit, and some of it we got, I guess, annulled or whatever the word is by the ATF being told by the Supreme Court what it could and couldn't do with some things. But the main thing that I'm getting at in this is that it put trillions of dollars, like tens of trillions of dollars aside and said, and this is taxpayer dollars at the federal level, and said, hey, states, we've got all this money and we're going to ration it out for the next 4 years and 10 years for some of it, but the big bulk of it's coming out in the next 4 years. All you got to do to earn this money is make horrible red flag laws. And every year we're going to evaluate who made the worst red flag laws. and some other stuff, but mostly they wanted red flag laws. Who's done the worst red flag laws? The top 4 states are going to take a giant slice of this money, and then we're going to do that for 4 years, thanks to sucker taxpayers and dumbass Republicans who voted for it, and all the Democrats who think this is the way to solve problems. Like, and what does this mean? That means that the states are going to get a ton of fucking money once they do bad enough, heinous enough laws to get picked. And where's that money going to go? Bloomberg and all the fucking versions of Bloomberg. So I see this as a massive Bloomberg getting his money back from everything he invested. Maybe it was the long game and he's just now getting his payoff from it, or he's cashing out, or he's just replenishing his money. So he's not out anything. But either way, this is a massive bullshit. And one, I think that explains why Connecticut and Massachusetts and Nevada to some extent, I keep saying Nevada, I should be saying Colorado, sorry, Colorado to some extent, because I don't pay enough attention to Colorado to know, but just because I pay attention to Massachusetts and Connecticut and Maryland more than anybody
Hmm.
else, in New York a little bit, in New Jersey, of course, but you haven't really complained
Yeah,
about
but
this stuff really wailing on you lately. You've already had
it,
some a
it
lot of
doesn't
this
help.
stuff, but this last
Yeah.
stuff has been kind of blatant. And these are bigger states that need the money. And they're also,
Hmm.
again, they probably hate Trump, so that's not hurting nothing that they get to go against Trump. But they're also vying for this money, and it's just political clout. You know what I mean? The governor of Massachusetts, she probably
Hmm.
fucking gets off on the fact that all the gun owners hate her. Like she fucking loves that. You know what I mean? Just the same way that I don't know, Trump haters love that Trump is in office, or Trump haters, wait, Trump lovers love that Trump is in office and the Trump haters hate it. You know what I mean? Like, there's
Hmm.
just people that gloat over this shit. And I can just tell she's the kind of person that doesn't feel bad about gun owners hating her. Like, she's probably, that's a feather in her cap. She doesn't
Yeah.
have any interest in gun owners. So, them hating her, they're lesser than her anyway. So, why would she care if they hate her? She thinks that's great.
And then you have people that are in the same party but won't vote for their gun rights. And then it's like, well, what happened? I'm like, all right, cool. Wait until you get. See, my issue is one of the issues against all these infringements is red flag laws. Once you get red flagged in a state like New Jersey, you're giving up your firearms. They're taking them. We just had it happen to somebody in our circle. They got red flagged over spite or over something that they didn't do, and they came to take all of his firearms. And he had been able, because he saw it coming, he saw the spike coming, and he was able to transfer his stuff out of state into another company's name. So he does no longer has access to them, and that's the only thing that stopped them from being taken from him was he had no longer had access. He actually turned them over to an FFL, whose business is to hold your guns for you, because they showed up the next day at his home to get his firearms, and all he had, he said he wanted to keep a shotgun there for personal protection in case something, went down and the person went to another level. Instead of just using the police to come take his guns, if a person would have showed up and been violent, he wanted to have a firearm in his house, so he kept a shotgun. And yeah, they came and got that. So now he has no defense against a person that didn't mind calling the police on him and reporting falsely. Yeah, you're at the mercy of just a spiteful person. Hopefully they don't get violent. Maybe he can order one of these paintball guns with freaking CS in it.
I'm trying to say thanks to Brooke for the super chat over here. So, as you were talking, I am typing in waving
Click in the hole.
a
Boom.
banner.
There you go.
And then I was going to throw this over here,
Yeah, I
and
was
then
looking at Brooke. She did she talked
super
about
chat.
writing her testimonies up. And
Oh,
I think it's great, man. I think it's great that people get out there and testify. I really do. And have sometimes I still feel bad because I'm not out there, but no, I feel I'm doing something else. I'm doing something else between the podcast and other things. I feel I'm doing good. But I 100% encourage people to be part of this process to see how it is and to look these scumbags in the face that are willingly taking your rights while telling you things like, I respect the Second Amendment, but no, you don't. And then when you ask questions, they won't answer them. Like how does raising the fee to $500 stop someone from using a firearm illegally? Someone that's gotten a firearm illegally. How does it stop them from using it? How am I safer? Because you feel
And
like,
these are the kind of questions that I don't mean to cut you off. But these are the kind of questions,
yeah,
though, that uh, well, the reason I cut you off, I guess, because this is an example of what I was bitching about a minute ago. These are the kind of questions, simple as questions, but effective questions, because there's a ton like that, right? That are real that don't get asked. Instead, our three-letter organizations will. Oh man, I just saw one this morning, and I wanted to reply to them. How does this help anything other than shout or cheering in the echo
hmm
chamber or whatever? And
hmm
I knew that if I said anything, I would just get shouted down. It was FPC, and they're not going to handle. You know what I mean? There was no. It
no,
was like it would have been deaf ears. But I was like, I like FPC. Technically, they don't. I don't love them anymore. Like they're. I'm losing interest in them, I guess, because of
hmm
the potential they had and what they've done with it. But and I'll change my fucking mind. Like I'm super happy to change my mind if they do something. But anyway, that just happens to be the one I saw this morning. But it's basically the three-letter organizations are satisfied. NRA does it all the fucking time, and GOA doesn't fucking stop doing it. It's one of the things I hate about GOA. Oh, I don't hate, but I can't stand about GOA is that they're happy to just go up to the middle aisle and yell our position at the other side and say, "Aren't we right?"
hmm
Us. And I fucking hate that because it doesn't work and it hasn't ever worked. And
yeah,
that's what people used to complain about the NRA for that. But then
yep,
Wayne's suits happened, and now Reddit will only let you talk about Wayne's suits. But back in the old days, we
yep,
would complain that the NRA was ineffective. But anyway, there's going to be a new NRA, so that'll change. But um,
yeah.
anyway, I was just
The
raging
NRA
at
used to be
the
ineffective because all they would
organizations.
scream, yeah, and now GOA screams, yeah, no compromise, no compromise. Well, can we actually talk about how we can get more people on our side? Can we support it?
We can
And
have
GOA
effective
at least.
communication without compromise. We don't have to compromise to make understanding possible.
So the cool thing about what G and GOA at least did with their goals was have the diversity panel, have the vet panel, have us, at least what I saw it as, on the diversity panel, you had myself, Yehuda, Diana Mueller, Tracy Guns, and one more, Antonio Okafor, on stage talking about how we can grow the community and welcome other people and, let guns be seen as something that's empowerment and civil right and all that. Cool, great, because the NRA has never had us on stage. I've been to SHOT Show talking about diversity and been on stage having these conversations. Um, NRA's never put us in a room together. So
NRA
I'm like, look,
NRA hired Colion, so they were like, check.
yeah, yeah, check. Yeah, we got Coleon and we have, what's the basketball player dude name? That played with John Stockton.
You
And
got
that's
me
why
at
they
sports.
mentioned him.
I don't know. You could give me $1,000 and I
Moses
wouldn't be
Malone.
a sports person.
Moses Malone. By the
Oh,
way,
that's
most
some old
people don't
guy.
know when you say, yeah, that whole Kendrick Lamar song where they say pass it like John Stockton. John Stockton would pass balls to Moses Malone. Moses Malone had sex with a teenage girl and had a baby. That's why I'm talking about it and Drake. It's just a little code word.
Oh,
Just a little
like
thing. One of those little
Jerry Lee Lewis
they
type
call
of
them.
thing that everybody knew back in the day and everybody
Yep.
forgot because it's been so old. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and he never claimed his kid. Now his kid's in the NFL. Now he claims him. Yeah. Anyway, that's who they had hanging on their wall. I still remember it, 2016 NRA. They had Coley on Noir's picture. They had Moses Malone or Carl Malone. Carl Malone. Carl Malone's picture. I think it is. I don't freaking know. Basketball player.
Well, Book's thing on the screen now says, remember, Tony, all of us can do something. None of us can do everything. That's a great way to summarize it.
True.
I was going to say when you were talking before I didn't want to. I interrupt you all the time, but I didn't want to interrupt you then because. But I was going to say, like I use the analogy all the time that the NRA is like our aircraft carrier, and GOA would be like a destroyer or battleship or something, and FPCs.
Yeah.
I don't know some other. I don't know all the Navy boats, but some other big boat, but not the biggest boat. But the thing is, what do? They bring troops and other things. So what we are is whatever we feel like being. But the same way we don't win wars with an army, we win wars with an army and navy, and and the army is divisions of cavalry and I don't know what all they have. Like infantry and air assault, and they'd have different things doing different things. So if we think of this as a an operation that needs to be done, half the time it requires people that understand something that needs to be done and are capable of doing it and then doing it without having to be orchestrated or told when to do it or how to do it. So I agree that we can't do everything, but whatever it is we're fucking good at, we should be leaning into that, if we're able. And I can understand. I mean, I've
Yeah.
definitely been years where I couldn't do shit because I was burdened with money issues or whatever. And I can imagine people with family issues or just other issues. Doesn't matter. Everybody's allowed to have whatever issues they want. Where you're not able to, but when we're able to, that's the thing. It's like a giant ass tug of war game that we've got every gun owner on our side. They're getting paid on their side to hook it up to a vehicle or something, but we don't all have to be soldiers like ants or something where we're instructed to be there at 9 a.m and pull this way, but we can sure figure out how to keep that rope taut and pull it this way once in a while. And I think it would be easier if we had national level organizations that actually realize that that's part of the game and at least had a portion of their attention spent on, even if it's just promoting organizations that champion this stuff.
And that's why, because today I'm supposed to be speaking down in Florida at GOA's Florida rally, uh, convention rally. I don't know.
Oh, did they
I'm
take over that
supposed to.
one? Because it used to.
Hmm.
Or wait, is this? We were talking about this a little bit off here. Is this the one that started out being the Florida carry? Like, let's get together and go quote unquote camping for the weekend, and we'll turn it into more and more.
I think that might be it because it seems to be the same time frame, right?
Because that's the only thing I'm
You know,
going
it's
off of. 'Cause I
February.
don't know Florida enough that it was in this time of year. Yeah, and it's the same kind of
Hmm.
thing. Like everybody got together and just open carried because they were fishing, but then it was like, oh, if we're all getting together and open carrying, let's do something, and then it turned into like more of a 2 3 day event. I thought.
Yeah, so it was there's supposed to have been a dinner last night, something today, and then there's a breakfast tomorrow. So it was a whole thing. But I got sick coming back from NRA. I'm sorry, SHOT Show. Then I got sick coming back from the Great American Outdoor Show, which is an NRA show. And I mean, I've been out of work for almost 3 weeks because of different illnesses. So I was like, nope, I'm not going for a three for in February. So that's why I didn't go. I actually contacted them almost 2 weeks ago to tell them I was ill and I wasn't planning on leaving the house again. And yeah, I apologize. It was Carl Malone who was on the NRA board. I don't know sports, so I shouldn't have said it, but it was Carl Malone. Now, Carl Malone did have something that he tried to do, like the diversity shoot down where he comes from, I think in Louisiana, because I was actually having this conversation when Carl Malone was working with Century Arms, and I never heard of him since. They were like, "Oh, you should hook up with him and do this," and I'm like, "How would I hook up with Carl Malone? How would I hook up with him? Maybe since he's the one who's on the NRA board and he's the one that's doing stuff, and I'm just getting people to donate to Patreon or you know chip in with pizza. Maybe he should come to me. He's a retired NBA player. Maybe he should come up and oh, dude,
Probably got less obligations, right? Can
yeah,
do as he
I
pleases a little
have
bit
things
easier.
to do. So really, really. So I'm like, okay, that's great. He's doing something. Where is it? Where are the results? because you have a name. Some people like sports ball. I have no idea about it, and I'm not gonna like poop on it. It's just I have no idea of these people. And I'm like, yeah, show up. Maybe you'll put some butts in seats. If Carl Malone is coming to a diversity shoot, I can advertise it, and maybe we can get a bigger venue, or I could get somebody who sponsors something else, so I don't have to drop $200 on pizza. Well, maybe somebody will be an ammo sponsor for that particular event, and I can get enough at least to have it for the next event. No, because doing events consistently is not easy. You have to put yourself out there. You have to spend time, money. You have to put it together, talking to range owners, getting, I mean, it's work involved. And most people don't know how much work is involved, and there's very little reward. Okay, congratulations. I did this. I get to be on your podcast. I get to make friends that are 2A advocates and be on their shows. Nobody's paying for this. And maybe there'll be a little bump in, maybe I'll get 2 and 3 donations or something. You know what I mean? Somebody may donate 1,000 rounds of 9mm to my next diversity shoot, which is awesome. But I'm definitely not flying down to Louisiana to stand around and Carl Malone and watch him do what I do, but badly. So no,
I don't know. That's an interesting thing to kind of spin off on people that, because I've been doing guns my whole life, but I've been paying attention to the Second Amendment fight and gun owners' rights since 15-ish. And I guess I've probably been paying more attention since 2000 just because the ZCDL, but I took them for granted. I assumed, hey, there's some old guys and they're doing good stuff. I'm in Arizona. I'm riding that train. Like, I'll just act like, I'm not going to act like nothing. I'm just going to sit here and do whatever they let me, or whatever they change the laws to allow us to be able to do, right? Carry this way, carry that way, carry however we want now. And pretty much everybody in Arizona, except there's like seriously like 12 people that made that happen. It's crazy to think about it, but like 12 dudes and their wives, a couple of their wives, like got together and just made this shit happen. And I'm sure they had a bunch of people sign a petition, but you know what I mean? That's just standing at a gun show and having a bunch of people go, yeah, it sounds good, thanks. But just a couple of people made it happen. But anyway, since I've been watching, I've seen not every, but I've seen a lot. I literally tried paying attention there for a number of years at what all's happening, because that's all I really paid attention to for a while. So I've seen a lot of Second Amendment activists come and go, and a lot of them come and, they're all in different trajectories and stuff. So they all had different rises and, trajectories, I guess. A couple of them have come and gone, but more of them have stayed, I think. And I want to also add like the number of them. What's the word? Like, how do you say, like, over, like in some years we see a lot of them, in other years we see none of them, right? There's like we talk about the 2015 era. Like I say, in 2000, a couple of them happened. There's a reaction. Like, there had to be something. Did new ones happen because of bullshit in 20? Probably, right? I guess maybe. I don't really think new ones happened as much as some that were new-ish became really strong. So it seemed like they're brand new. Like Chris's one, the I want to say AIPCA, but I mix it up with, I'm dyslexic, so I mix it up with, it's Association of some Pacific Islanders. You know that one? So I think they
Oh
were
yeah, yeah, yeah.
around before the bullshit of 20, but the bullshit of 20, like, let them really become a thing. Like, they all got together and became a thing. Anyway, so there's been like some new ones, but I guess the question is, this is gotten a long way of me setting up a question for you. Of, you've been around the same kind of way. You've been around guns your whole life and then seen this stuff and been more involved in it since 15. The people that come along, not the shills, because I'm going to exclude the
Hmm.
shills, who I just have ultimate disdain for, and even the massive shills. There's a massive shills in
Yeah.
Colorado, for example. But
Hmm.
aside from the shills, the people that come in earnest, maybe misguided, maybe just duplicating effort is a nice way to say it, but not necessarily copying people, but
Yes.
just don't realize they're stepping on
Yeah.
somebody. is it better to have these people that are bad? And I don't know, again, not the evil ones, but the ones that are like bad at it, or the ones that are just wasting everybody's time. Is it better to have them, or would it be better to have, again, like an NRA say, maybe just tap people on the shoulder and go, you're doing exactly what so and so's doing. Like, do you know that? Like, do we need two of you doing the same exact thing? Because if you're all going to put the time into it, what if you did this and you did this, and now we have two things happening in this state? Like, is it better to have an organization to do that, or is it better to be like au natural or whatever, and let nature take its course, and you know what I mean, let people do what they want? Because I don't know if one's right
Now,
or wrong. That's why I'm wondering.
okay, it's thank you for saying that because I've only been in it since 2012. I've been doing my thing since 2015. I've had people come and try to duplicate my thing and fallen right off. I don't see them as competition. I just see them as somebody who's doing the same. All right, cool. I can't reach everybody. I can't be everywhere. But you, every generation that comes up thinks the generation before them did it wrong. So when it comes to try to go, hey, you're doing the same thing as somebody else, it's almost like listening to people talk about communism when they're in college. Yeah, but it was never done right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like all those ones
you
that killed millions of people, that was just a bad
mhm,
adjustment. We can adjust it.
yeah, we can make it work. And it's like, hey, you're doing the exact same thing so and so is doing. Yes, but we're appealing to the young people. You know who was young in 1970? Alan Godley. And he appealed to the young people in 1970. He just got older. He's got the same marching. He's doing the same thing. Young people go to him. He has established himself. You haven't. You just showed up last month. You hit with a splash. You're saying things. The bad part is this: usually, you want to help these people. Go, hey, they're great organizations. You should work with them. I don't say stop doing what you're doing because that's almost insulting. But some of them don't know these other organizations exist, and they would. But others are like, no, we're going to do it our way. Cool. Well, you should work with these. And instead of going, yeah, I'll go talk to them, work with them, and see what's up, I've seen them get offended that anybody dare tells them what to do because they full of passion and everyone else is standing in their way or everyone else is just jealous of them. And it's like, okay, fine. Uh, hey, if you're around in 2 years, you're around in 2 years. Other than that, I probably won't see you at the next NRA convention. You know what I mean? It's like some of them are going to drop off. Some drop off within 6 months because they get no feedback. And then they're bitter and they think other people sabotage them. I'm like, no, people try to talk to you, you sabotage yourself. So that's what I've seen. And it's like, when do you come to a point? Do you just give up and you go, they'll figure it out? Or do you try to talk to them and now you're caught in their web of, well, I don't like this person, I don't like that person, I don't like that person sucks, and that person doesn't want me to achieve anything. And I'm looking at them like, well, everybody you named is friends of mine, and they've been in this at least a decade. You just showed up. No one hates you. They don't even know who you are.
That's the thing. Yeah, a lot of people think that the the because they're standing there, that the people zooming by knew that they were standing there, but they don't realize that people zooming by are seeing tons of people standing there. And unless you're doing something different or amazing, or you cause traffic to stop or something, why would you? Just like any pedestrian, you're going to go, there's yet another pedestrian. But there's just too many of them to know all of them, so you don't even attempt to know any of them.
So what I do is like, hey, I'm no one's competition. I'll help promote you if you want to do this thing. Let's talk. You have a podcast, I'll be on it. You want to be on my podcast? All right, let's do something. But you don't attack people. We're all trying to grow this thing together and head in the same direction. And we can't have each other tearing each other down. If you have a problem with someone, say it to them. Don't ever come on my show to poop on somebody else. If you're an adult, You take your problem up with them. Yes, I'm telling you about conversations that happen behind the scenes and things I won't accept. I won't accept you trashing somebody without telling them because many of these people are friends, associates, or allies of mine. If you have a problem with them, talk to them. They're adults. They might not take it well, but at least you got it to them. And I usually don't talk about this stuff about the infighting with Second Amendment community because we've got too much going on to even
And it's
talk
not
about
like it's fighting as much as like there's just people that ain't gonna work together, and
it. Yeah.
because of that, there's shit that'll just there's paths that'll never cross, I guess. And I
Hmm.
mean that's gonna happen anyway. There's always gonna be like your Colt Smith and Wesson people. Like there's people that hate Glocks. Like it's cool to hate Glocks, right? And then there's people that love Glocks. Now most of the time we can overlook that shit, but when it comes down to like what you're buying and what you're going to carry. Like if you hate Glocks, you're not carrying a Glock. So if you're going to talk carry situations with people, you're not going to go hang out with like a group of 12 people that carry Glocks. You carry a Beretta and you're going to have discussions about holsters and shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like you can have superficial conversations, but you're eventually going to probably go hang out with a bunch of Beretta people, just because of the nature of the beast, right? You're all using the same kind of gun. So you're going to be worried about the same kind of holster issues. And fill in the blank: hunting, shooting sports, collectors, like whatever, people that are just interested in self-defense, like we're going to have that, I don't know, element to it, facet.
Hmm.
Patriot
Well,
had
to me,
said, oh, go ahead.
go ahead. No, to me, it's just, hey, that's fine. Let's work together. Oh, you can't work with them? All right, cool. Missed opportunity. But again, don't trash the people. Just go do you. I
Oh, I guess
see
that's what I
someone
was saying,
trash.
is that we have all these different chains or pillars or columns, but yeah, for the most part, nobody's throwing rocks at each other trying to knock the other pillars down. Like I talked about the exploiters, they're usually get that reputation, or they are evident to be that person, because they usually will destroy on their way out or something, like or just do stuff that's reckless or something.
Yep.
But most of the time, like the beefs inside the gun community are just like, we'll never work together. And they turn their backs to each other and they're just never work with each other. And maybe if you went up and asked them, like, hey, you like that person? No, they're a son of a bitch. But, then the topic gets moved on. I guess some people are more sore than others, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not like an industry where it's like racing. I get the idea that like the different companies involved in racing are constantly fucking with each other because they got this race or something. We don't have a race. We're just all trying to get, we're kind of all persecuted the same. Like we're all like, if anything, we all have the same burden of, society thinking that we're violent or weird or something. So I think that we don't have,
Yeah.
the interest to get into that. Now, maybe if we were more mainstream and it was, then maybe, you could find out about who the Miklix don't like and who, Taryn won't work with and all that kind of weird shit. But for the most part, all that shit, you'd have to go to SHOT Show and bug a bunch of people to find out all that, whatever beefs. I'm just made shit up. I have no idea who the fuck beefs are out there, but like I say, because I don't think they're out there. I don't think I'm not paying attention. I just don't ever hear anybody talk about that kind of shit. So, like I say, for the most part, the people that don't like each other just kind of turn their backs to each other and just you don't see them. The reason that they don't like each other is because they're just never in each other's realms, right? I mean, I may be wrong. Maybe there
Well,
is some shit going on that I'm missing.
no, there's some stuff going on, but I choose for the most part to ignore it because it gets us nowhere. It's a lot of wasted energy when you're being catty, backstabbing, whatever. And I choose not only to ignore it, but I don't even hold on to it mostly in my memory. So I've had a few moments where, again, I'm friends with people because how they treat me and how we interact, right? So I'm friends with people that other people can't stand. Oh, I hate that guy. All right, well, take it up with that guy because I like him. Sometimes in conversations, I forget that who I'm talking to doesn't like the other person I'm talking about. It's like, hey, why don't you work with so and so? And they look at me like, you don't know?
Because I
Don't know
fucking
what?
despise that guy.
Oh, oh, okay. Sorry, forgot. Don't worry about it. Moving right along.
But seriously, that's all it
Yeah,
is, and that'll happen. I can't even tell you, like, because there's a couple of people who I just don't like, and I'm sure there's,
hmm
like a million different facets of that out there. And most of the time, when that happens, it's like, oh, well, then what about this guy? Okay, yeah, or what about her? Like, okay, fine. And then you know what I mean? Like, we're not like singularities out here. We're all in
yeah.
realms. So, oh, you don't like to work with that person, or you don't like working with the people in that state. I've seen that kind of shit happen too. Like, oh, I won't work with people in
Oh
that
yeah,
state. Like, okay, fucker. Well,
yeah,
then go work with somebody in Texas. How about that?
dude. It's so annoying too, especially being from New Jersey when you hear someone who is from a free state. Oh, I don't work with those people in New Jersey. I'm like, none of us are pro, red flag laws. We're all pro 2A. Like if you have an activist that you've been hearing about in New Jersey that's a 2A activist and they're doing work, yeah. Um, Anthony Calandro is one of them that got on the NRA board, and they had people that didn't want to vote for him from other states because he was from New Jersey, and New Jersey has horrible gun laws. I'm like, did you get hit in the head as a child? You do understand that the person from New Jersey is fighting those terrible gun laws every day. It's what we eat, live, and breathe. And because we live what people love to call behind enemy lines, we have to fight against the stereotype and the negative connotations about us at every turn.
You can't even
From when
know.
you talk, yeah,
I'm interrupting. Go ahead.
like like you can't. There are people out here who don't want to tell their families that they're thinking about buying a firearm because it would turn, Sunday dinners into who you planning on killing. Everybody knows only cops and criminals have guns. That's the kind of mentality you have in this state. And they suffer from Stockholm syndrome, unbelievable Stockholm syndrome, that it's okay to be charged for your rights and to continually raise the fees arbitrarily and to throw restrictions out there arbitrarily. And they're cool with that. Like their family members that don't understand why that's a problem, even though when you point it out to them, they go, "Oh, I never knew it's, based on racism." And right now, they're denying, black people carry permits 10 to 50 times compared to whites who all of us have passed the same background check and we're able to do it, but they just denied to black people arbitrarily in 2025. And the study just came out about that last week. And John Petrolino actually did an article in Bearing Arms not only 2 weeks ago, but he also did one 8 months ago talking about it. So it's out there. And people, many, many New Jerseyans either are ignorant of it or okay with it. And that's what you have to fight to be a pro 2A activist. And then you get somewhere like NRA and you got people from freaking free states going, "Oh yeah, I don't want anybody from New Jersey on the NRA board because they have bad gun laws in their state."
Okay, so let me
Like,
interrupt you
dude,
there again because you
go
touched
ahead.
back on that. Well, first, let me take a second,
hmm
and I just noticed this that I got DJ's link up here to CNJFO,
Awesome.
the
Coalition New Jersey Firearms
Coalition
Owners.
of New Jersey Firearms Owners. Thank you. But I just noticed because I was making sure I kept flipping back over to the regular YouTube window, and it looks normal on YouTube. But whenever it shows up on the system I'm using to stream with, I guess the colon / turns it into a. I don't know what the fuck it's supposed to be, but it looks kind of like a
What is that?
skull.
A skull?
I
Yeah.
think it's a skull, or else it's an alien, or else it's a freaking ghost, maybe. Like I can't tell what it is, but it looks like a skull, kind of. And I figured Patriot might dig that, and DJ probably. I don't know if he's seen that, but he probably digs it too. So it seems like it still works, but at least when it shows up on the screen, and that's probably with anybody who would drop a link in there. Only mods can drop links, but I don't think it's just DJ. But anyway, I was going to say you don't even know because I grew up in a state where, well, behind enemy lines bullshit, and I moved the fuck out of there as soon as I could. At least the reason I moved to a state like Arizona and not a state like, I don't know, one of the other states like that, like California, is because I didn't want to stay like that, right? Like I definitely wanted to get the hell out of there. And then I understand fight for it and all that. I was 18 and I wanted to get the hell out of there. Or I was probably a little older, but whatever. But so I've lived some of my life in it, but in the olden days when there wasn't any fight, I've lived the whole entire fight in a free state, let's say. So you say you people in behind enemy lines don't know, but you don't know. Like uh the way that some people think, like you just were getting about, like some people will go, oh, you're in New Jersey, you must like it that way. Like everybody in New Jersey just sat around and was like, fuck guns, I hate guns, and I'm a gun owner, but we should have horrible laws. And that's where I was going to say, and it's sure it's the fault of the person back in the old days, but nowadays, shame on the national level organizations who have our ears. People pay $30, they get newsletters whenever there's like a challenge or something. I guess you could say like one of the ATF, what do they call those things? Opinion things. Come out. We'll get the petitions that we're supposed to send in. We'll get the things that we're supposed to send to the representatives or Senate or something to maybe confirm a nomination or to to challenge a nomination or something. But why aren't they out there um, letting people know about these plights or whatever, or like I suppose specifically who they should be supporting for NRA right now? Um, but whatever the version of that was back in the past, there's been all kinds of different opportunities and challenges and things that we had going on, and I think that it's a failing that we've had forever because we always have had a majority of the states that are sitting around doing nothing, while definitely 9 states, sometimes it's getting to be more, but for a while there was only 9 states, so 1 out of 5 states, not even, that was getting wailed on. I guess if you count Hawaii, right? Like I forget about Hawaii. Um, but your couple of states that were always the same. I don't even have to name. We all know who they are. We're always getting wailed on, and all the opportunity we've had to like learn how to like think of how much money all of us do. Like what's that nacho something or another that's like New York City, like blah blah blah. Like
Yeah, yeah,
there's so
yeah.
many, right?
Pace salsa. Yep.
There's so many ways that we purchase stuff. I guess that's the opposite. That's probably not a good example. It's the opposite of an example. But something that we buy from New York cheesecake or some shit. I don't know. Like if we all stop
Hmm.
buying New York cheesecake, that might be mean to the cheesecake company. But in mass, if everything purchased out of New York started to be affected by, their uh, laws or whatever, that's all I'm getting at. Is that I think that we've lost a lot of potential there, and I don't think people who live in these states realize that it's just that easy. Like I know from working at the gun shops for years, way before I was really interested in paying that much attention to the stuff. Like definitely before 2013, when it was just all the um, uh, what can we buy? Because the end of the assault weapons ban was in 4, and the internet kind of started in 2000. So we all started the internet looking at guns and sharing stuff. The global war on terror was how do you explain how that thing happened? Like it ended up being 2 generations. It ended up being 20 years. So some people were in it because they were old and they were already in the military. They went over there, got deployed, had a kid that grew up while they were in, and then enlisted and went, and then their kid enlisted and went. Like we have some people that have 3 generations of kids in that war, a lot of 2 generations in that war. That affected guns and the internet and stuff and all that. And for a while there, and I'm not gonna. I was part of it. It's hard to blame us because we didn't know, but that was that the end of the assault weapons ban. That was prime time opportunity for us to normalize gun ownership. We just didn't realize that in 2013, the beginning of an onslaught would happen. It's 2020 hindsight now. Are we living in that time again?
Hmm.
I fucking think so. I think we're living
We
in a
got to.
time before something horrible is going to happen, and they're going to be able to get enough people to figure out that, like, oh, we can't let that happen again. We have to do something for the blah, 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 right? And boom, another. We just had that stupid, what I was just describing, the stupid Safer Communities Act. Nobody's even scared of that. Nobody even talks about it. We talk about New York State Rifle and Swiss Association versus the loser Bruin all the fucking time. Like if we somehow did something, the Supreme Court fucking did that. We didn't do shit. But anyway, um,
Yeah, 100%. And I try to point that out to people all the time. The Supreme Court made that ruling, and the Supreme Court went cutting edge. Supreme Court has never, ever been on the cutting edge of rights. Society itself was always ready to change by the time the Supreme Court gets around to doing something. Every single time. It's up to us. We make that movement. The Supreme Court has never led the charge on civil rights.
They can't
They've
be
always,
depended
I'm
on, and
sorry.
they can't be urged, right? Like they can't be prompted. Like every once in a while we get these things happen, but anyway, I'm not crapping on them. It's nice that we have them. But they're not. What's the word? They're not written in stone to where they're respected by people who hate the Constitution. And guess what? You're allowed to live here if you hate the Constitution. It's a part of being free. So just because we have the right on our side doesn't mean we won the argument. Doesn't mean that we've stopped the fight. The way we do that is we just get them off our fucking backs, and the way we get people off our fucking backs is normalize guns, so that they go get on the backs of somebody who they just want to be on somebody's backs. And gun owners are too easy to just bark back at them. We just need to end that. But I guess that's my
Yep.
thing I always
And
grab
there's a
on.
lot of ways to end it. There's not just one way to end it.
It's a good point.
And how? Oh, how's this? One of the best ways is to stop being an a-hole if you're a gun owner. That's the easiest way you can affect it yourself without you having to go to a rally, donate money, join a group. Stop being an asshole. When I'm talking to people,
Feeling
yeah, look,
personally attacked,
I'm,
but go ahead.
yeah, but I live in Jersey, and I'm not talking about just being a juror. I'm talking about being. Uh, Here's the thing: when I start talking about Second Amendment firearms to people that are obviously, if not anti-gun, don't care either way, and then I get brought up, well, my mother-in-law shouldn't own a firearm. She's a raging alcoholic, and she's a racist. And I'm like, what am I supposed to say about that? Yeah, it sucks, but she's never been arrested, and she hasn't killed anybody yet. I have no idea what to say to that. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's your mother-in-law. Um,
Well,
I
here, I
don't
don't know
want to
if I'm
talk
being a
about.
dick, but like, here's what I think I would try saying to that is like, then
Hmm.
should she not have a car or a knife or bleach or a lighter or like access to a gas station? Should we lock those up? Should there be like a fence so that alcoholics don't go in there? There's not a precedent for people getting drunk and running around shooting at things. Like, I guess it happens,
Hmm.
but there's not like a precedent
Yeah.
where it's a direct causation of drinking or
Well,
whatever
it's
that word.
more of a. I mean, if we really want to be honest, there's more fear of drinking and driving than drinking and shooting up the place. But yeah, I had no idea what to say because I'm not going to try to start an argument with someone or talk
No,
about how
yeah,
they
there's
should
no
view
way.
their relative.
2020 hindsight
Yeah,
and us talking to each other calmly is totally different than talking to somebody for real.
yeah.
Like in
There's
foods
no
and stuff.
win there. And again, I'm in a workplace. I'm in a workplace in New Jersey talking about firearms. This could go real badly for me if I turn this into something. You know what I mean? Because of where I'm at.
And that
Yeah,
sucks too.
and
That seriously, that I mean, at the work level, right? Like they can go, this guy keeps talking about guns in the lunchroom or some shit, right? Like if they say that to
exactly.
HR, like they can't just be like, maybe you should talk about somebody who isn't a firearms instructor. They have to take it through. It's the second time I knocked that over.
Now, luckily for me, I've had these conversations in HR with HR personnel. There is no doubt that I'm a firearms owner, Second Amendment advocate, and a firearms instructor. So, and my thing is also to back off. Everything doesn't have to be me beating the drum and for the rights of everyone every chance, including starting a fight at work with someone over their own mother-in-law. All right, cool. Understand where you're coming from. Your mother-in-law needs to be a better human being. You know what I mean? I mean that's as far as I go with
I
that. Your
think
mother-in-law needs
Edgar
to be a
would
better.
say there's probably other people, but who was I listening to would have the same opinion, but until she, there's already laws against being shooting up the place. There's already laws against being reckless. So, like you said, it's sad that she likes to drink alcohol, but it's a right to drink alcohol, and it's a right to own a gun,
Hmm.
and it's a right to own a car, and all that other stuff. And there's already laws that say if she combines those three things or two things and starts being reckless, then there's already times, there's already consequences for that or whatever. There's already rules in the book for that. We don't need some special extra one that makes guns extra whatever, or that somehow the law would prevent her from getting drunk or something.
Mm-mm. So instead of being confrontational, just listen to what she had to say, and it ends up. She told her mother-in-law, "Look, you guys fight all the time. You get drunk. You have a gun in the house. Get rid of the gun, and you can spend time with the grandkids. If you don't, I'm not sending the grandkids over." And to her mother-in-law, that was important enough that they got rid of the firearm. I mean, I guess that's one way to do it. If it worked, it worked. I mean, me personally would have been like, you know what? Maybe you should stop drinking.
Yeah, or
Maybe you should stop drinking and fighting.
it could be like meet the kids in the park or something, right? Like just not take them to your house ever
Yeah,
if
who
you're that
knows? Hey,
concerned.
listen, I can't solve anyone else's family's problems, but it was just a conversation, and I'm looking at it as how can I turn this into something for us as pro-gun people, as advocates, as good human beings. It's like, hey, maybe don't be an a-hole and own a gun. Just try to be a better human being because you are seen as a gun owner. You have a way to advocate for firearms and firearms ownership. But if you're acting like a tool all the time, you just look like an a-hole gun owner. And that's what people see. Not, not only are you a gun owner, you're a volunteer at this and you work with kids here. And who knows what else good things you do. But if you're an a-hole to them and they just, oh, he's a gun owner, he's an
Yep. And it's probably like the what is it? Yeah, you treat one customer bad, and they're going to go around telling like 20 people. You treat 100 customers good, and they all like maybe tell a friend. Like people don't usually go, "I had the best service at a restaurant the other day." At least that's what they used to. I used to tell people. I used to get told, back in the days of being in the restaurants that there's very few people that go around championing your efforts at food, but one cockroach in a plate. Like everyone's going
asshole.
to get told about that for the rest of the fucking time.
Yeah. Hey, you know that restaurant that burned down 10 years ago? Went to eat there once. It's like, holy crap, bro, it ain't even there anymore. It's a Petco.
But you're never going to forget that. You know what I mean? I can remember. Well, I'm going to get into stories that gross people out. So, I was just going to mention DJ's been dropping links. Thanks for that. Um, Patriots got one up here. There's a big difference between mother-in-laws and ex-mother-in-laws. It's a good one. But DJ's been dropping links. I was going to say, I don't know if he watches. I think he watches Guns for Everyone, Edgar's channel. I noticed I haven't watched it yet, but I noticed, and I've been eager to watch it. I've been helping people move, so I haven't. I've been kind of out of the game. I didn't do my show this week because I've been, like, say, helping somebody move the cheap way, like van loads at a time. Not hiring movers and shit. So it's just taking forever. But I seen that Edgar posted a video about that RMGO. Did you happen to see it, Tony? But I was gonna say,
No, I
DJ,
didn't.
check that out. I'd get the impression that because Edgar's not going to hold shit back, and I'd love to have Edgar on to chat about what's going on in Colorado because he's there and he must know what's happening at least from being there. You know what I mean? If not, really know from I don't know, like the industry people he knows there because he does stuff there, but just from being there, you would know, right? Like I only know of what's going on up there. I haven't done any kind of investigative stuff at all. But anyway, I'm just telling DJ, like you may want to. I'm not sure, but you may want to be careful about dropping that one. Um, Patriot saying, I made it a point to always call when I get good service or have a good experience. I try to do that too because of that. Like, I've worked in restaurants and stuff, and I know how rare that is. And sometimes it falls on deaf ears, you could say. Like, sometimes it's just like, yeah, yeah, thanks, whatever. But I know that sometimes, like, somebody's having that day. Hillbilly will say this all the time. Like, try to make somebody's day better. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes, especially in a restaurant situation or any kind of service, really, in situation, they can get wailed on, and just getting that, verbal pat on the back, like, just to let somebody know, or let them know that somebody out there appreciates, not just appreciates, but really appreciates what they do. I think it's worth it. I just actually did a thing for more of a service, I guess, for a place that I frequent quite a bit. That's like more of a service thing. And they had a QRC code thing, whatever those whatever that square code is, that you
Yeah,
zap
QR
it
code.
and it takes you, QR code takes you to the page. And I do a lot of reviews for making money anyway. So I was like, I know exactly what to put in here, like, to make uh, the company who's curious about their employees at that location, which was really what it is, like, give us fill out this survey and you can win a thing or whatever. But really, they just want to know our opinion of their service. So I was sure to chat them up. Like, I almost thought about opening AI to make, it even sound better, but I didn't go that far. But I do try to, every once in a while, if there's a number on a receipt, which there almost always is these days, if I get something to go or something, I like to call back and let them know, like, this was the best nachos I've had or something. Because seriously, for me at least, I don't know about you. Like, I go to the same restaurants. If I go to a restaurant, maybe a couple of times a week or something, um, or I should say, if I usually go to a restaurant a couple of times a week. So I tend to go to the same restaurants. So I'm going to the restaurants, a couple of times a month, easy. Um, but if I get something amazing, like, I want to let them know so that, they just know, like, oh, okay, the way I made them nachos, that guy dug it. So, I mean, there's probably some turnover, but I go to, like, little places that are, the same three people work there every time I go there. And I think it's worth letting them know, like, hey, those nachos were excellent, especially if you've got some, like, special request or something. Oh, you know what else? When I order pizzas, I almost always order pizzas well done for sure. And if the place will do it, I ask them not to cut it. So I like cutting it myself. And uh, when I'll get a place that, does that, I'll either let them know right away, or sometimes I'll call them and be like, hey, thanks. That was amazing. Basically, just so that I figure it also edges your odds of getting it the same way, specialized. They're going to make sure that they do your stuff right the next time, because gave them that pat on the back.
Well, I actually leave reviews, but like talk to the person. Nah, I don't want to have
That's a
a
good point
conversation
too.
with the
Google
waitress.
reviews.
Yeah, yeah, I leave a lot of Google reviews. You can follow me on Google as Tony Simon and join the other 200 people that are following me, which is weird. There's a whole bunch of people out there that know when my fat ass goes to eat, because I actually write and post the pictures of the stuff, because I think uh, we travel a lot, man. We travel a lot, and when you're traveling, you're looking for a place to eat, and I'd like an actual truthful review of the damn food in a place. Yeah, food was good. But what the hell did that tell me? You know what I'm saying? When I'm looking for a pizza place in Orlando, uh, your boy Marco would like tell people online where he was going and ask, for food advice in those places. And I'm like, that's cool, but what if I'm already there? I want to look it up and find somewhere to go. And when I'm reading food reviews, I'd really like, well, what did you order? What was good? How was this? Was it a lot of food? Was it a little food? Was it worth the price? Those are the things I want. And if I could see food, cool. Even better if I could see what the food looks like. How was it presented? So that's what I do, and that's what I came into my reviews with
When
that
I was
idea.
traveling for the number of years there, I would go to restaurants, and there was a site for the vegan restaurants that I would go to, and
Hmm.
it was essentially just a Google thing or like one of those
Hmm.
review places, but it was especially for these vegan restaurants, right? So I did the same thing though, but I would try to always take a picture of the entrance and the bathrooms, and then a picture
Gotcha.
of the this place. I wasn't like gonna. I only ordered one thing, so I wasn't gonna be able to show them like a lot of the food. But I figure plenty of people show them the food. I like to show them the bathrooms and the entrance for anybody with mobility issues or any kind of walkers or canes and stuff, just so that
Hmm.
they know what to expect or what to anticipate. Because a lot of times they'll show you just because they're not thinking about it. Places like if they won't show you the ramp or something, they'll like show you from the knees up because it just makes a better
Hmm.
picture or something. They think, and in a lot of ways, yeah, it gets more colorful shit with their signage or something. But that person who's thinking about is that a ramp or is it stairs or is the ramp I got to walk or ramp up three different ways or something to get in there, or just the old people or
Yeah.
something that are like, how do I get myself into this restaurant?
So Google gives you that an option, by the way. With Google Maps, they actually ask that. You can actually put in about parking. Is it parking? Is it close? Is it a lot of it? Is it paid? Do they have kids menu?
Yeah, like little check
Is it
boxes so you
handicap
can.
accessible? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and you can even write about it if you want to. And they were rewarding you if you were more verbose. So I started talking just about different things. Leading into the restaurant, the waiter, the attitude, what the crowd was like at that time of day. I mean, it's all stuff that goes into actually doing a review if you care. Me personally, I was just trying to keep a log of places I was going because my memory sucks. And like for a while, everyone's done it. You drive past a restaurant, you go, I wonder what that's like. I wonder what that's like. And then you go there one day, and 3 years later, you go, hey, did I ever get around to going to that restaurant? Let me check it out. Oh yeah, it sucked.
Dude, one of the
Now
things
I'll
I don't
stop
know
there
how I
twice.
lit. It seems like it's been my whole like for a long time, but I don't even remember what it was like. Because like if I think about going somewhere, open up Google Maps, find it on Google Maps, click on it, look at all the pictures. So yeah, like, oh yeah, I've been in that lobby before. I've been in that restaurant and
Hmm.
like, or like, oh no, I haven't. Or like, oh yeah, I remember that menu because there'd be pictures of the freaking menu. There'll be pictures of the
Yep.
food half the time. But even if it's like a hardware store or something, like I'll be taking a quick look and see if I remember the parking lot or something. Yeah, it's crazy. Or if I'm driving, right, you can be hours away from your destination still. Somebody in a passenger seat can be zapping around and have a crystal clear idea of uh, what the restaurant situation is going to be. Okay, we're going to try this place, and if it's full, we're going to go to this place, or if something happens, we'll go to that one. You'll like have three different options. Where back in the day, I don't even know what we did. I think that's when the chains were loving it because you just got off and found whatever sign caught your fancy.
Yeah, I mean, and Marco was one of the guys that helped me out. He was like, dude, when you travel across the country, stop at different places and not chain restaurants. Or if you stop at a chain restaurant, make sure it's a regional chain restaurant that's not one where you're from. I was like, cool. He was like, turn the whole just eating food into an actual part of the trip. I was like, wow, I didn't think about that. You know how guys are.
Oh, for sure, dude. I used to do road trips all the time, and it would be more like if we ate the same thing at Denny's the whole time, then we know our food cost is $6 a day or whatever. It was
Yeah.
like it was the opposite of like having fun and exploring the country's food stuff. When I was a little kid, when my grandparents would take us on a trip or something, then it's like more of what you're talking about. Like they would stop at places, but it was also, I guess, olden. That was before maybe the. I shouldn't say that. We're not
Oh,
that
well, the
old.
chains.
I think they just didn't like going to chains because they were old. They didn't. They were like, why would I go to a chain when
Well,
I could go to what we came to Memphis for or what we came to Oklahoma for?
yeah, advertising
What you
just
eat in
put a trick
Oklahoma?
on us as kids. Yeah, advertisements did us in, bro, because we thought you're supposed to stop at McDonald's, Burger King, and those chain restaurants because that's where everybody goes. It's like,
I
no,
remember really
stop at.
wanting to go to A&W's whenever we'd go to one because they would freeze the cups and give you ice cream and root beer and all
Yep.
that. I thought that was great. But the
That was
grandparents were
awesome.
like, No, we go to A&W at home. Why would we go to an A&W? Like maybe if it was my birthday or something, they would do it. But if we were out in the middle of nowhere, like or somewhere some other state, they like to road trip. Like they eat I don't know liver and dumplings in this state, so that's what we're eating. And it's like, damn it! Like I would have much rather
Oh, yeah,
McDonald's or whatever, right?
yeah,
Or you know
yeah.
what?
That
Like
was
if you went
so.
to visit the Amish people, like you're eating Amish food. You're not eating McDonald's. That's what we came here for.
Yeah. Well, luckily, Amish food slaps, so I wasn't.
Yeah, I picked something that I
Uh,
can't even. I
uh,
mean, I didn't like eating a lot of this stuff when I was growing up, but that is not a good example because they made almost everything amazing. I remember going to this place. I think the lady was Dutch or something, and that was
mhm,
close to being as freaking good. But this lady that was like the cook at this place that would make all the breads and everything from scratch, like it wasn't French. I know that, like the breads didn't have a hard crust or whatever, but
mhm.
anyway, now we'll get into food. We're 3 hours in. We were just at
Yeah.
the 3 hour mark. We could have probably I could have been paying attention. We could have ended it right at three. But I don't want to keep you here all weekend again. I appreciate you taking the time to do these long shows. Hopefully people dig it. Give us some feedback. Throw money at Tony. Like let him know, like, hey, thanks for doing a show, putting 3 hours of your time. In addition to all the other stuff he's doing. Not that you have to, but if you feel like it. But otherwise, just give us some feedback. Let us know if it's worth our time. I don't mind bullshitting. I like to get together and chat. I really appreciate the interactivity. Me and Tony could talk offline or just talk on the phone, but we get to chat with all of y'all. Brooke was out there. She's getting ready for her show. This show will direct
Yep.
you to her show, which is in like 4 hours, I think. So you got a while. But Patriot was out there.
DJ got to go
DJ,
eat.
huh?
DJ has to go eat dinner. He's like he hadn't eaten a day. He's out. We're talking about food. He's hungry. Um.
I ate. I got a bunch of fried rice. I've been on a fried rice kick, and I'm not gonna say it's the best fried rice because I kind of am cheap and I don't like the idea of paying for fried rice, but I didn't want to cook it either. So I went to this place, and it's pretty dang good. But anyway, the reason I went to this one is it's like the styrofoam trays. Like if you went somewhere and got breakfast and you didn't eat it, they would give you this big styrofoam rectangle or square tray, right? Like a
Mhm.
full plate. They give you the rice in that instead of a little paper thing. So I ate like half of that rice before the show, and I'll wail on it when we're done here. So that was my food for today or whatever. Some fried rice. Actually, a big
Yeah.
pile of
Well, I
fried rice.
slammed. What did I call them? Indian
Oh,
samosas.
not
Yeah,
Samoas. I want to say samosas,
Samoas.
Samoas or something like that.
Yes, Samoas. I just body slammed
Dude, I
some of
used to
those.
eat those when I was first moved out here. I would get those things frozen and eat them. I never had a microwave, so I would always cook them in like a toaster oven or something. But
Hmm.
then I found a couple of restaurants around that make them, and mine like a zillion times better, homemade. But
Oh yeah, 100.
uh, shout out in the
Yeah,
chat if you like eating Samoas. No, samosa.
Samoas. But yeah, Indian food is really good. I enjoy it. But that's something me and my wife like. But my father-in-law doesn't, so it's killing her living down South Carolina and not being able to go. Because you're not gonna have separate dinner for her, separate dinner for him, and there are only two people living together.
And you
Type
can't
thing.
really, you can have Indian food, right? But it's also rude if somebody doesn't like Indian food because it usually is pretty pungent and you're
Yeah,
not going to like subtly eat Indian food. I like it a lot.
yeah,
And
it's not.
I was gonna suggest there's like bags in the big stores. So you can get like these bags of all different kinds of like the sauces or whatever, and you can throw them on rice or whatever. But
Hmm.
again, like you probably could do that, but yeah, it wouldn't be really cool if somebody's trying to eat like macaroni and cheese and you're eating some like something masala or whatever.
Basmati rice, masala, chicken masala, basmati rice. It's like, yeah, enjoy that Kraft macaroni and blue box cheese, everybody.
But no,
Yep.
you live in a better place than I do because I don't have that option. There's probably like two places in town that I could get that, but it would be like going to a
Hmm.
restaurant and ordering to go. It's not like a to go restaurant that just has that. When I was traveling, I found a couple of places that were more like a takeout restaurant that was they didn't even have tables, like you only got takeout. Man,
Oh,
it's almost always amazing. I really like homemade or like from scratch made. But up in Phoenix, there's like buffets. We used to go up to Phoenix. And after I'd go up there is the Indian buffets, and then all you can eat Indian food.
yeah, dude, that was one of my new favorites. It ends up my wife did work for an Indian family. Uh, I think taking care of the kid, and they would have Indian food that the kids would eat. They'd have it set up so my wife would warm it up and they'd give them the food, and she didn't know what it was. She just heated it up, and it was like, wow, that smelled good. And they were like, oh, you've never had Indian food? And all of a sudden, huh, I had a new thing. And she'd know what it was, and we'd order it, and she'd have some idea what it was, and it was pretty dang good. So we had a lot of fun discovering, that cuisine together.
I would
And
call it for
life
people that
is
haven't eaten it. It's a lot of bread, and then
yeah,
like chili, essentially, right? It's just a bunch of different kind of chilies, except they call them curries, I guess, maybe. But
yeah,
a lot of soupy
and they
type
have
of stuff, heavy sauce. It's like a lot of tomato sauces. Like if you went to some Italian place and they said, we've got a bunch of different pasta, but we've got like a really chunky sauce, and then we got like a meaty sauce, and then we got like a cheesy sauce, and then we've got like
yeah,
a tomatoey sauce. That's going to Indian
it's
food.
like
It's like we've got one that's got a dill flavor. We've got one that's got like a tangy flavor. We've got one that's like a sweet. No, they don't really have too many sweet ones, I don't think,
yeah.
but
So they got
their
chutneys.
flavors are different
They
than
they have a
us.
lot of different things. But the food is the same. Like they still have chicken, they still have lamb, they still have freaking chickpeas. They still have so it's nothing because I tried to convince my mom to get it, and she was like, "What do Indian people eat?" I'm like, "Same thing you eat. They just use different spices." So yeah, and as far as the sauces is like again, I mean, you nailed it with the Italian. Like, yeah, they got vodka sauce. They got, what's the one that starts with an
Oh,
A?
there's a white one. Yeah,
Alfredo
exactly.
sauce.
Alfredos,
Yeah,
right?
it's like it's different sauces. Their foods are cooked in. It's nothing crazy, and the naan, which is their bread, slaps. It's really good. Um, and you can get it with just ghee, which is clarified butter, and they have garlic on them. It's really good food. Check it out, especially one that's used to having different people come in. If it's just a straight up Indian restaurant, you might get your O wing blown out because some of the food can be spicy. But if it's someone that's used to people from other cultures coming in, then they usually have the heat level set up and they'll take the time to tell you about stuff. And you can try different things. It doesn't have to be scary, it's just food. If it all sucks, you can go to and get something else later. That's what I try to tell my wife. It's like, oh, it's just food. If it sucks, don't eat it. Welcome to America. We don't have to clean the plate if we don't like the food anymore. We're
You
adults.
ever get mushu at a Chinese restaurant?
Hmm.
So that I thought whenever I first started eating that blew my mind. And then just because I was so used to eating everything like in chopsticks or whatever, and then you like make a rolled thing with the tortillas or whatever they're called, rice tortillas,
Yep.
just blew me away. So that's where I think the Indian stuff might be something that's alien to people too, because it's a lot of taking the bread and dipping it, or it's pretty much taking the bread and dipping it, right? Or putting stuff on top of
Yep.
rice. There's not a lot of
Yep.
like, I'm going to take a knife and a fork and I'm going to cut into like carrots and steaks and things.
Yeah.
That's a little
No.
different eating, but I dig that. Like, I really like it.
Yeah, it's just a chance to do something different. You don't have to be an expert. I remember the first time eating Vietnamese pho at a Vietnamese restaurant. I had no idea what spoon to use, what to do. I'm looking at other people, like trying to peep out the corner of your eye, like you cheating off the paper. Like, what am I supposed to do with this big ass spoon they gave me? Ah, that's for the soup. All right, cool. What am I supposed to do with this plate of vegetables they gave me? Oh, you throw it into the pho. All right, cool. Eh. It's just
Like,
you
that's a
learn.
weird looking salad. Oh, I get it now. Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, why in the hell do you have bean curds, jalapenos, and cilantro just thrown on a plate? Well, this is weird. And why do I have limes? We drinking tequila, boss? What is this turning into? No one explains that. So I just started looking at the Vietnamese people around me and I was like, oh, okay, this is what I do. Had to learn. So anyway, hey man, I'm glad to be on the show.
We'll take
That's
the
the
rest
last
of the
stuff we
time.
do today.
Tell us about the whatever diversity shoots are coming up.
All right, diversity shoot is coming up actually Thursday. I have to get on here and get on eventbrite.com and post up the next two events because we sold this one out last week. So the next diversity shoot is going to be at We Shoot in Lakewood, New Jersey. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have brand new people coming out shooting guns for the first time. We're going to have kosher pizzas and kosher pastries. I'm also ordering regular pizza for those people that want pepperoni on their pizza. It'll be coming. And what else we're gonna do? We're gonna have awesome prizes because We Shoots provides great prizes like range bags, safety equipment. They even had one of those life pod safes for your handgun. So they give really cool stuff away and allow us to raffle it off. CNJFO, the Coalition of New Jersey Firearms Owners, usually comes, and when we have a packed house full of new people, they even raffle off memberships to their organization, which is like a $40 value or something like that. But at least it gets you involved in Second Amendment advocacy because you're part of a group. You'll get newsletters and emails from them to see what's going on in your state. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to shoot guns. We're going to eat pizza. We're going to have prizes, and we're going to have conversations. Those conversations that the anti-gunners say they want to have but refuse to have, we're going to have them. So any questions you have, I'll answer as long as you're respectful. We're not here to fight, bicker, or call each other names. Actually, the Second is for Everyone Diversity Shoot is about bringing people together, but with humor, food, and fun. So if you expect political correctness, don't even bother showing up. This ain't the organization for you. If you want to have fun, you want to hear me goof on everybody in the room, that's what's going to happen. The whole thing is done with a sense of humor and love for a fellow man. And if you want to check it out, again, diversityshoot.com. We'll have tickets to the Eventbrite link. We're at events all year long, twice a month, at 5 different ranges in the state of New Jersey. Can't wait to see you. And after I get my 501c3, I probably won't do it this year because we have so many damn dates. And I have a couple of events like GOA, Kevin Dixie. I'm going to Train and Learn in Georgia, and I'm also might go to NRA because it's all close to where my wife is. So I might not do a Midwest tour this year, but definitely is going to be on schedule to do next year. Work with Second Amendment organizations across the country. So that's what we're doing. It's an advocacy workshop, and we're just trying to grow the Second Amendment advocacy community to get people to shoot guns and not see us as scumbags. We're breaking a negative stereotype of the firearms owner and also growing the ranks of the firearms owners. So if you want to help us, go to diversityshoot.com. We have PayPal, we have Patreon, all part of that. You can donate to us. You can also contact me directly at SimonSaysTrain at Yahoo or Tony at Diversity Shoot. And if you want to donate, you can do things like buy ammunition at the ranges we are and just have it set aside for us for the next diversity shoot. That would be great. And again, visit diversityshoot.com and you can find out where we're at and donate, purchase the ammo. 4 out of the 5 ranges actually have shops that you can buy it from wherever you are in America and just set aside 9mm, 5.56. Those are the big ones. And if you want to donate 40, 45, 7.62 by 39, 22 long rifle, we're down with it all. And all of it's appreciated. So thanks a lot. I really appreciate you guys letting me talk about this at the end of every show. And, oh, yeah. And we smoke cigars. Can't forget about cigars. At the end of the night, we sat around. We don't care who you are. If you want to stick around and have a smoke with us, cool. You don't have sticks. We have sticks. And we sat around and bullcrap and talk about what was good, what was bad, and what we could improve at the event. And we take photos and post them up. So it's just a fun night of community, and we're trying to grow this.
It's actually pretty cool. That element of it. Can't even count how many times that has happened, like organically or naturally or whatever. Like after a restaurant or after a gun
Hmm.
show or something, and nobody's gonna say like, "Hey, everybody, go to my house," because it's not that type of thing. But everybody's you just stand in the parking lot for a minute or for a while, sometimes chatting, So having that
Okay.
kind of engineered into it is pretty freaking cool. Yeah. And like I say, that's
Yep.
just that environment or that, especially after an evening or, session of hanging out with everybody, everybody, and you can, what you've talked about and what conversations you wanted to follow up on. And that's the opportunity, like while somebody's instructing or while somebody's chatting or, while there's a lot of back and forth banter or something, you don't want to interrupt. But in that kind of circumstance, now everybody has a chance to, recollect their thoughts and stuff. And then, oh, when you said earlier about this, what happens with that, and yeah, it's
100%.
just pretty neat.
Oh, conversations come up. Hey, what's the best holster to get? What's the best light? What do you guys think about this? How do I join these groups? How do I get involved? All those questions not only can be answered inside, but if the flow is going and we're trying to get people on the range, that could get lost. So yeah, definitely come out. Let's do this, man. I ain't crapping on nothing. We're supposed to be in this having a great time and spreading information. And that's what I try to do at every one of these events.
Well, we normally kill the show with that, but then I just saw a comment here. If you got a second, Patriot's been out there chatting away, and Mike White goes, or said here, I've referred. Do you have a second here, Tony, to keep going?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
I got a question to ask you here.
Yeah.
So set it up for this question I'm asking. Mike White is saying, uh, I don't have the ninja one. Sorry, Patriot. I have referred a few people to your YouTube channel, Patriot. This week they were talking about blind people and guns. So what Mike White is talking about is on San Diego gun owners last Sunday. So almost a week ago, they had on. Well, they didn't have it on, but they were just talking about an article, I think, and the article was about a guy who's blind who applied for a CCW. Did he get it? I think he got his CCW, or else he could apply. I got the hiccups again. He could apply, and that's what he was upset about. And he goes, "They let me apply for a CCW, and I'm blind." Or maybe he got his CCW, and he was like, "I got my CCW, and I'm blind, and they shouldn't let me do it." And this was on, the radio or their podcast, and I'm like, I think I personally know like four people that are blind that have CCWs
Mm-hmm.
here in Arizona, and then I know even more people online. Plus, like Derek has had blind kids in his
Mm-hmm.
kids thing, kid
Yep.
safe. So I was
Yep.
gonna say, did you hear about that? And or what's your opinion on like if a blind person showed up at diversity shoot, you'd be like, get the hell out of here. What were you thinking?
Well, the annoying thing about that would be, hey, bro, let me know you're coming because I got to get the mind shift right. I got to find out where, what one of my guys, a couple of my guys, do you go to? How do I brief my guys on handling you? So if you're gonna come and you need some assistance or you're blind like that, let me know ahead of time so we can prep for it and make it a good environment for you. That's the only thing I see is like help me help you by at least giving us a heads up because we've still got the event going on. You know what I mean? It's hard to pull my guy off court and go, hey, I know you got like three people waiting, but we got a blind person coming through too. So this is how you handle that. Nah, like give a brother a heads up. But we try the best to accommodate you because it's a human right to be able to defend yourself. And if you can see to shoot or you can whatever, however you figured out how to run this thing, we're gonna help you out.
Yeah, it really bugged me that like that's even or that has become another tactic or another attempt to make gun owning look stupid or look dumb or something
Hmm.
when it doesn't. I guess it leans into the idea that somehow that's something that shouldn't be or that guy can't do. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
you can decide you can't do something. That's your right, but you're not allowed to tell
Hmm.
everybody else that they don't have the fucking right. Like that's messed up. And it leans
Well, the
into that whole
stupidity of
idea.
it is, think about it, bro. Blind people, if somebody talked about and did a thing on, hey, yeah, we had a blind guy that parachute jumped. Well, nobody goes, oh my God, he would kill himself. They go, well, more than likely, the blind guy knows his limitations. That's why he signed up for that. and or will learn how to do it.
Overcame
You know what I'm
whatever
saying?
adaption. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my concern is for his dog. It's got to scare the shit out of the dog. But what are we doing, boss? Why are we jumping out of a plane? Um,
Dogs
but
can do
yeah,
it.
you
Dogs jump every day.
jump out of planes every day. But yeah, no, you'd assume the blind person knows the limitations, or at least have figured out how to work their way around it. No one's running around issuing blind people firearms, and I think that's the mental leap these people make. Oh, just giving blind people. Yes, we're willy nilly over at the Helen Keller School of Blind, handing out belt feds to all the kids.
I think I
I
know
don't
at
see
least
how that's
one
happening.
person who would be behind that. Maybe a couple of people that would be behind that whole theory.
But I'm just saying, dude, it's playing onto a thing, and this person obviously what did it on social media. I'm assuming that's how everybody heard about it. Is they posted on social media, which rewards controversy, and traffic to your page. So
That's
yeah,
exactly
you
what
do
Pink
see.
or Patriot's saying. The guy's from a constitutional carry state. He didn't even need one, but he was looking for
Yeah.
the hype.
Oh wow. Yeah, definitely. Just looking for attention. And that's the craziest part about social media and some of the stuff we do. But neither here nor there. Yeah, man. Regardless of who you are, you have the human right to protect yourself. And if you can figure out a way to do it, awesome. We've had people with different, I don't know what you call them to not be. We've had people with different issues, and we figured out how to allow them, or if they figured it out before they ever showed up, how to handle firing a firearm.
Yeah, when you're talking like anybody that's differently abled or has
Yeah,
issues with like dexterity or muscle strength, like there's so many things that can just inhibit
yeah.
your ability to
Yeah.
move your arms or like like your something's locked up or you lost your
I was
range of motion.
contacted.
That's where
I
the
was contacted
NFA
by a
is
gentleman I'm
bullshit
with.
because
Yeah,
they should be able to
definitely.
make
NFA is
guns that look
bullshit.
like little Nerf triangle, but a 357 comes out one side with almost no recoil. Like we could develop that if there wasn't a stupid law that's like, we're so afraid a criminal is going to be a criminal that we're not going to let anybody do
Yep.
anything.
We've had people come in wheelchairs. Thank goodness they let us know, and we had the porch set up for them. Okay, cool. We had a young lady, which was I thought hilarious because doing what I do, I think I pay attention to stuff. I did not notice this young lady didn't have a hand. She was missing a hand, and we were in there because she was in the second group that went in, and we were talking about firearms. She's like, "Yeah, I'm a member of the range," and we were talking, and she was telling me, "Oh yeah, I like CZs. I have one. I have a couple. All right, cool." Second group went in, eyes to ears. She was like, I got my own. She was with her, her group of friends. They went in. So I go in and I'm taking photos and I take a picture of her and I keep it moving. And then I came by and she was shooting an AR and I took a picture and I was like, why is she gripping the magwell like that? There was no hand attached. I was like, okay, that's something I should have picked up on, but all right. Yeah. So she was missing the left hand. Um, just nothing was there. But she was able to run guns. She able to actually get her concealed carry because she passed that with flying colors and she shoots regularly. And she was running an AR with no problem because she's lived her whole life without that hand and she knows how to function without it. But she knew how to run an AR without it too. And I was like, cool.
Often without any kind of like knobs or extra whistles or nothing, like
No,
just using it with normal controls.
yeah, I watched her do it. I mean, she just ran it, boom, slap, boom, boom, because it was our guys' firearms. They used our guns, and she had no problem operating it. And I was like, awesome sauce. It's a human right. Whether you have all or few, or you're missing something, or whatever, I support you being able to protect yourself and the people you care about and exercise this right.
And it goes back to who's going to be victimized more often. Somebody that's got perceived issue of having no hand. So, oh, that looks like more easy target. I'm going to go push them around
Hmm.
and be mean to them. whatever they're going to do. And
What do you call those people? What do you call them when people see you as a victim because vulnerable, vulnerable? They think you're vulnerable. Well, wrong. This young lady will light you up with a CZ-75, with a P10C, or what I found out with an AR.
you know, Patriots saying, if you got in an accident and lost your hand, would you stop? No.
Exactly. Nope.
He also said earlier that the Michigan School for the Blind had a shooting range with BB guns, and the instructor was fired because of it back in like 2010.
That's
That's a
pretty
shame, and
stupid.
that's probably correlated with some kind of bullshit concern or fear. I'm going to say of something that happened in a school.
Yeah. Who knows? These people are stupid.
Although
Their
Michigan's
fears
got a
are
little
unfounded.
extra problem with like militia crap, like they keep going after the militia, and then they had like those FBI dudes that were going after the governor or something.
Yeah. How do you have a conspiracy talking about people going through a Oh, the militia's going after the governor, and then you find out 13 people involved, 12 of them were FBI or FBI informants or FBI CIs. I'm like, and that was an FBI plan to kidnap the governor.
Yeah, like what's the plan? There's got to be some plan. What's the plan? What's the plan? Somebody was like, I don't know, governor maybe. Like, and everybody's like, oh, it's the plan to get the governor. Like, it's the plan to get
It's
the
a
governor.
plan against the governor. They're going after the governor. Yeah, dude, we have 12 CIs. This huge group is going after the governor. Then you find out only one dude wasn't on FBI payroll.
All right.
Shoot, if he was smart, he'd be going, I was just ordering lunch. I don't know why. I came by for the sandwiches.
All right. We went beyond the thing, but I appreciate it. It was probably worth an extra little bit. And thanks to everybody who listens to us. I don't get the podcast up as regularly as I should. I'll be working on that, but it's just a dollar cost thing or whatever. I got to pay the bills and whatnot. So appreciate the Patreons who make it possible for us to spend some time here. And then anybody who just finds this along the way and leave some comments, we'll get you back at you on the rewind. All right. I'm not gonna put. I didn't have the all the stuff set up for the exit stuff, so I'll just hit the button here. Thanks again, Tony, for joining us.
Thanks,